Welcome, dear listener, to a journey beneath the emerald canopy of Guatemala, where time sleeps beneath tangled roots and secrets rest in shadows. Tonight, you are invited to set aside the weight of your day and embark on a gentle voyage, one that will carry you far from the present and into the mysterious heart of the ancient Maya world. Imagine the velvet hush of the rainforest, punctuated only by distant calls of birds and the soft rustle of leaves. Here, veiled by centuries of foliage, lies La Corona, a name whispered by explorers and archaeologists as a place of wonder, legend, and hidden history. Some say it is a lost city, forgotten by time, its stones cloaked in moss, its story waiting to be told. As you listen, let your mind drift along winding jungle paths and up stone stairways, past hieroglyphs and overgrown plazas. Picture a civilization that flourished long before our own, a world of powerful kings, intricate rituals, and enduring mysteries. Tonight, we follow the explorer's quest for answers. Is La Corona truly a lost city? What secrets does it hold? And what lessons linger in its silent ruins, waiting for us to discover? So, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let yourself be carried by the gentle current of curiosity. Together, we will explore ancient temples, decipher forgotten scripts, and listen to the quiet heartbeat of a civilization once thought lost. Welcome to the quest for La Corona. The journey begins now, And if you enjoy this bedtime adventure, remember to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know what mysteries you'd like to explore next. Sweet dreams, and welcome to the quest for the lost city. The dawn air hangs heavy with mist as the tiny propeller plane bumps down onto a crude airstrip carved out of the emerald vastness. Here in the heart of Guatemala's Petén region, the jungle is a living, breathing thing, its breath rising in wisps that catch the first hints of sunlight and turn them into gold. Dr. Sofia Alvarez leans forward in her seat, peering out the window as the ground grows closer, her heart pounding within. She is no stranger to ancient ruins. Her boots have kicked up the dust of forgotten empires in Egypt, Greece, and Peru. But this is different. This is personal. For Sofia, Guatemala is more than a destination. It is the land of her ancestors. The cradle of stories whispered to her at bedtime, tales of hidden cities, lost in the jungle's green embrace. The plane shudders to a halt. Sofia slings her battered satchel over one shoulder, grabs her field journal, and steps out into the thick humidity. Her hiking boots sink slightly into the soft earth. Birdsong, raucous and unfamiliar, fills the air, and insects shimmer like living jewels in the shafts of morning light. Waiting at the edge of the airstrip is a battered jeep and a driver, a man with a broad grin and sharp, intelligent eyes. "Dr. Alvarez?" he calls, waving. "I'm Luis. I'll get you to the village." Sofia nods in thanks, her voice lost for a moment in the wonder of arrival. She climbs into the jeep, her satchel across her lap, fingers unconsciously tracing the outline of the old, hand-drawn map inside. The map is more than a curiosity. It is a legacy passed down from her grandfather, himself an archaeologist, who spoke often of La Corona, the lost city. The road is little more than a suggestion, a track of muddy ruts and stones, winding between walls of green. Luis is unfazed, expertly steering around potholes and fallen branches. The jungle presses in, dense and impenetrable, alive with secret motion. Sofia catches glimpses of bright-plumed birds, the quick, sinuous dart of a snake, the watchful gaze of monkeys high above. After an hour's bone-jarring drive, the village appears. A scatter of palm-thatched huts, smoke curling from fires, children darting between the shadows. Sophia thanks Luis and steps out, greeted by curious stares. She is an outsider, but she speaks Spanish with the fluidity of a native, and her eyes are kind. Her first stop is the home of Don Miguel, the oldest man in the village. Don Miguel sits in a hammock, skin the color of old mahogany, eyes sharp beneath the brim of his hat. He listens as Sophia explains her quest, then gestures for her to sit. Many have come, many have left empty-handed, he says softly. The jungle keeps her secrets, but Don Miguel is not without kindness. He pours a cup of thick, bitter coffee, hands it to Sophia, and leans close. La Corona is not a story for the faint-hearted. There are things in these forests that do not wish to be found. Spirits, yes, but also men with guns and hunger in their eyes. He reaches into a battered wooden box and withdraws a pendant of green jade, strung on a frayed cord. My grandfather found this near a ruined stone. He said it belonged to the king of the lost city. Take it. Perhaps it will bring you luck. Sophia accepts the gift, her fingers tingling as she fastens it around her neck. She thanks Don Miguel and spends the afternoon among the villagers, listening to stories, recording legends in her notebook. Everywhere, the name La Corona hovers just out of reach, half-spoken, burdened with both hope and fear. As dusk falls, Sophia sits by the river, the jungle a wall of darkness behind her. She listens to the strange chorus of frogs and insects, the laughter of children echoing across the water. She feels the weight of the pendant at her throat, the scratch of old paper in her pocket, and the ancient pulse of the earth beneath her boots. Tomorrow, she will gather her team and plunge into the green sea. Tomorrow, the quest will begin in earnest. But tonight, she closes her eyes and breathes in the scent of rain and wood smoke, listening to the jungle whisper its secrets. A song as old as time, the world is hushed and expectant as dawn spreads its pale light across the treetops, turning the jungle from inky black to 1,000 shades of green. Dr. Sofia Alvarez stands at the edge of the village, her breath clouding faintly in the cool morning air, her heart thumping with anticipation and a tinge of fear. This is the day her real journey begins. Luis arrives, his lean form outlined by the rising sun. He carries a machete strapped to his belt and a battered rucksack slung across one shoulder. With him are Ana, the team's botanist, and Javier, a young porter with a crooked smile and an infectious energy that seems to repel even the most persistent insects. Their packs are heavy with supplies: dried beans and tortillas, bottled water, notebooks, cameras, and medical kits. At Sophia's insistence, they've packed Don Miguel's jade bead and the precious map, sealed in plastic against the jungle's constant damp. Sophia checks her boots, tugs at the straps on her bag, and casts a last, lingering look back at the village. Several children wave, their faces a blend of hope and worry. She raises her hand in farewell, drawing strength from their faith. Today, she is not just an archaeologist, she is a bearer of dreams. Luis leads the way, machete flashing in short, sharp arcs as he clears a barely fair path into the jungle. The trail, such as it is little more than a narrow channel through a wall of green, nearly invisible except for the marks left by generations of villagers and the rare, reckless outsider. Every step into the forest is like entering another world. The air changes immediately, thick, hot, humming with the life of a million unseen creatures. Branches arch overhead, knitted so tightly that only scattered beams of sunlight reach the mossy ground. Everything glistens, Leaves, roots, the lianas that twist like serpents between the trunks. Birds flit through the shadows, their colors so bright they seem almost unreal. Anna walks close to Sophia, wide-eyed and quiet, her long braid tucked under a hat. Every few meters, she pauses to examine a plant, sketching quick notes in her field journal. "This is incredible," she whispers at one point, fingers tracing the edge of a blue-green orchid. "Half these species don't even have names." Javier brings up the rear, balancing the heavy pack on his back with practiced ease. He whistles a tune under his breath, his eyes constantly scanning for movement, both for danger and for signs of the path. Occasionally, he points out markers, a twisted root, a cluster of oddly shaped stones, a faded strip of cloth tied to a low-hanging branch. Hours pass in a blur of heat and motion. The group stops often to drink water, mop sweat from their brows, and consult the map. It is not a map in the modern sense, no coordinates, no satellite precision. It is a tangle of hand-drawn lines and cryptic symbols, annotated in Sophia's grandfather's careful hand. Jaguar Rock, Whispering Pool, Stella of the Sun. Each reference is both a clue and a challenge, a puzzle for those patient enough to look and listen. At midday, the group reaches a clearing where sunlight floods down in golden sheets, illuminating a carpet of wildflowers and fallen branches. Here, Luis calls a halt. They eat quickly, dried fruit, salted peanuts, and water from canteens. Sophia pulls out the map, smoothing it on a fallen log. She traces a route with her finger, lips moving, as she recites the landmarks. "We're here," she says finally, pointing to a symbol that resembles a jaguar's head. "If the map is right, La Corona should lie 2 days' walk north, past the river and the standing stone." Javier grins, wiping sweat from his brow. "Then we'd better move. The jungle gets meaner after lunch." Anna laughs, the sound light and strange in the heavy air. They shoulder their packs and press on, deeper into the living labyrinth. The jungle closes around them, a symphony of sounds, buzzing insects, the shriek of parrots, the distant calls of howler monkeys. Each step is a negotiation with the land, leaping over fallen logs, wading through muddy gullies, ducking under branches heavy with epiphytes. Thorns catch at sleeves and pant legs. The air grows thicker, and the smell of earth and growing things fills their nostrils. A sudden rustle in the undergrowth stops them short. Luis signals for silence, raising his hand. Out of the shadows, a small troop of spider monkeys appears, eyeing the group with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Sophia and Anna watch, entranced, as the monkeys leap from tree to tree. Their agile forms little more than streaks of shadow and sunlight. For a moment, the boundary between human and wild blurs, and Sophia feels herself becoming part of something ancient and immense. As the afternoon wears on, fatigue sets in. Feet ache, tempers fray, but the group presses on, driven by the promise of discovery. Near dusk they reach a narrow stream, its banks crowded with lilies. "Here," Luis calls another halt. Night in the jungle is not silent. As the last colors of sunset fade from the sky, a new world awakens, one ruled by shadows and the music of unseen life. Dr. Sofia Alvarez sits by the dim glow of a campfire, her knees drawn close, feeling the pulse of ancient roots beneath her. The flames cast flickering shapes on the surrounding trees, illuminating faces etched with both excitement and fatigue. Anna huddles beside her, clutching her battered notebook, her glasses catching reflections of the fire. Across the small circle, Luis carefully sharpens his machete, the rhythmic rasp soothing nerves, stretched taut by a day of strenuous travel. Javier, ever cheerful by daylight, now sits quietly, gaze fixed on the darkness beyond the hammock lines. The jungle feels bigger at night, closer, alive with secrets. Sophia glances at her grandfather's map. The next marked landmark is simply labeled Stella of the Sun. She can almost feel the old man's presence here, guiding her hand, steadying her resolve. But the journey is wearing on them all. The fire sputters as Anna adds a handful of dry twigs. "Do you ever wonder if the stories are true?" she whispers, voice barely above the chorus of insects. "That there are spirits in these woods? Things that watch and wait?" Javier snorts, but his voice is low. "My abuela used to say the same, that the forest listens and remembers." He throws a small stick into the flames, watching sparks leap skyward before being swallowed by the dark. "I just hope it doesn't mind us camping here," Luis speaks next, the knife pausing in his hand. "Respect is what matters. Don't take more than you need. Don't boast. Don't stare too long into the trees." He glances at Sophia, eyes serious. People get lost in the jungle. Not just their bodies, but their minds. Outside their camp, the darkness is absolute, broken only by errant fireflies and the faint silver gleam of the river. Every sound feels magnified, the rustle of leaves, the yowl of a distant cat, the whisper of wind through deck. Sophia's senses are heightened. Every shadow could be a story, every echo a warning. Anna is restless. She pulls out her journal and begins to write, hands shaking only slightly. "This place is unlike any field site I've known," she murmurs, almost to herself. "It feels layered, like time is thick here, folded in on itself." Sophia nods. She understands. There's something about the night that makes the line between past and present shimmer. She remembers tales told by her own grandmother, of kings who vanished without a trace, of cities that sank beneath the trees, of spirits that linger in the roots, keeping watch. A sudden, sharp crack from the undergrowth makes everyone freeze. For a moment, the fire is their only world. Sophia grips the jade bead in her pocket, heart thudding. Luis stands and motions for quiet, stepping a few paces toward the source of the sound. There's a tense silence, then the startled, offended screech of a howler monkey echoes back. Javier exhales, letting out a nervous laugh. "Just a monkey," he says, but his voice betrays the tremor of relief. The camp relaxes slightly, but nerves remain raw. The jungle is beautiful, but it is also a force to be respected, untamed, unknowable. As the fire burns lower, Anna shares her notes from the day. Strange vines she'd never seen, orchids clinging to branches like silent witnesses, insects with colors like precious stones. Sophia records everything, noting patterns, oddities, fragments of story that might mean more later. The darkness outside feels like a boundary. Inside the circle of light, they are safe, at least for tonight. Luis tells stories of his own, of lost expeditions, of artifacts found and never understood, of rumors of rival treasure seekers who come not for knowledge, but for greed. "There are others who seek La Corona," he says quietly, his eyes meeting Sophia's. "Not all of them mean well." Javier shifts uneasily in his hammock. "We have the spirits, and we have each other. That's enough." A chill breeze rustles the trees. The fire dies down to embers. Each team member withdraws to their hammock, pulling mosquito nets tight. This closes in, but so does the feeling of unity, the sense that they are more than a team now. They are a fellowship, bound by purpose and the quiet terror of the unknown. Sophia lies awake for a long time, listening to the jungle breathe. She thinks of her grandfather, of the stories she's heard, of the risks yet to come. She wonders if she will ever be able to tell her own story. If, in years to come, she will sit by another fire and speak of spirits and echoes, of nights when the jungle seemed to watch and remember. She drifts into sleep as the first hints of dawn touch the sky, the shadows outside her hammock growing thinner, the echoes fading into dreams.
Dawn in the jungle arrives quietly, as if the world is reluctant to break the heavy veil of night. A faint grey glow replaces the darkness, and for a moment everything is suspended between dreams and waking. Sophia is the first to stir, the faint chill clinging to her skin as she slips out of her hammock and stands barefoot on the dew-soaked earth. The scent of rich soil and distant flowers fills her lungs, clearing away the lingering cobwebs of sleep. She moves quietly, not wanting to disturb the others. Luis is already awake, tending the last embers of the fire and boiling water for coffee in a dented metal pot. He nods in greeting, his face drawn but determined. Anna and Javier are still cocooned in their hammocks, only faint movements betraying their dreams. After a simple breakfast, beans wrapped in tortillas, sweetened coffee, and a handful of wild berries, the team breaks camp. The sun rises steadily, casting the world in a dazzling golden light. Everything is alive. Insects swarm, birds sing, and the trees stretch high above, their branches swaying gently in a silent conversation. Sophia consults the map, noting the day's first objective, the stela of the sun. It is an old mark on the parchment, accompanied by a cryptic note in her grandfather's looping hand. Listen to the stones, they remember. She feels the weight of expectation heavy on her shoulders. Each step forward is a step into the unknown, where the line between legend and reality blurs. The group moves carefully, hacking through undergrowth and wading through thick tangles of vines. Luis leads, using his machete to carve a path. Anna walks just behind, pausing frequently to collect leaves and sketch the shape of unusual flowers. Javier, cheerful as always, hums softly, a tune that seems to push back the tension of the wild. After several hours, they arrive at a slight rise in the land, a mound overgrown with moss and strangler figs. The air here feels cooler, hushed. Sophia senses it immediately, a change in the energy, as if the jungle is holding its breath. She stops, kneeling in the soft earth, and brushes away leaves and clumps of moss with careful, reverent hands. And there it is, a slab of ancient limestone, half swallowed by the ground and vines, but unmistakably shaped by human hands. The stela rises from the earth like a monument from another world, its surface carved with a series of intricate glyphs and images. The stone is worn and pitted, the lines softened by centuries of rain and wind, but the artistry remains powerful, a testament to the people who once ruled this land. Sophia's heart hammers in her chest. She feels as though she's shaking hands with history itself. "Ana, Luis, Javier, come quickly!" Her voice trembles with excitement. The others gather around, peering over her shoulder as she gently wipes away more moss, revealing ever more detail, rows of glyphs, stylized figures, the unmistakable face of a jaguar, and a sunburst radiating from its brow. Anna is the first to speak, her voice a mixture of awe and scientific curiosity. "This is incredible. Look, these symbols aren't from any site I've ever studied. They're unique." She snaps photographs, then sketches the glyphs in her journal with trembling hands. Javier kneels beside Sophia, careful not to touch the stone itself. "Do you think it's a marker for La Corona?" he asks, hope and wonder mingling in his eyes. Luis runs his fingers just above the glyphs, as if feeling for a pulse. "These stones, they're old, older than most people think, maybe older than the oldest stories. Sophia produces tracing paper and a soft pencil, carefully capturing each symbol and detail. She works methodically, heart pounding with every line. In her mind, she can almost see the hands that carved these images, a long-lost artist, a message meant to outlive empires. As she copies the glyphs, a pattern begins to emerge, a line of text that seems to repeat, each iteration paired with a different figure. Anna leans over, reading aloud in a whisper. The king, the path, the sun returns. She looks at Sophia. I think this is a dynastic record, maybe a warning or a promise of rebirth. Luis scans the jungle, eyes sharp. We should be careful. This place is important, and not just to us. Sometimes people come looking for things better left alone. The words hang in the air, weighty and unsettling. The team works in silence, each person lost in thought. They are not alone here. The past is thick, pressing against them from every side. As midday approaches, the sun climbs higher, illuminating the carved stone in dazzling light. For a moment, the glyphs seem to glow, as if the stela itself is speaking. Sophia closes her eyes, feeling the energy of the place. She places her palm flat against the stone, not to take, but to listen. The cool surface thrums beneath her hand, and she feels connected, for a heartbeat, to everything that came before. When they finally rise to leave, Sophia sketches the stela's location. By midday, the air feels heavier. The brilliant sunshine that painted the stela now seems to glare, flattening the world with its heat. As the team presses deeper into the jungle, an uneasy quiet descends. Birdsong tapers off, replaced by the slow, throbbing pulse of insects. Sophia feels the pressure of unseen eyes on her back, as if the ancient city itself is watching, and so is something else. Luis, always alert, slows his pace. He gestures for silence. Sophia's heart skips. She catches Anna's glance, sees the same wariness mirrored there. Javier, sensing the tension, falls quiet. Every muscle tense as a coiled spring. They press on for another half hour, navigating fallen logs and tangles of vine, the sun slanting lower through the green gloom. Suddenly, the sharp crack of a twig splits the silence. The group freezes. Out of the brush ahead, 3 figures step into the open, each dressed not in the weathered earth tones of field researchers, but in pristine hiking gear. Their boots are polished, their backpacks new. At their head is a tall man with dark hair and an expensive watch gleaming on his wrist. Sophia recognizes him immediately, Victor Rojas. She has read about Victor in archaeological bulletins and heard stories whispered over campfires. A treasure hunter with a genius for charm and a heart for profit, moving through jungles and deserts alike, snatching relics to sell to the highest bidder. He raises his hands, all smiles, but the look in his eyes is hard as obsidian. Dr. Alvarez, what a coincidence to find you here, he calls in accented Spanish. Quite a day for an adventure, no? Luis moves in front of Sophia, machete held casually but ready. We're here for research, nothing more, he says evenly. Victor shrugs, letting his gaze drift over the group. His companions, a muscular man with a military bearing and a thin, nervous-looking woman, spread out on either side, hemming the team in. There is a chill in the air that has nothing to do with the wind. Research is all well and good, Victor says, his smile sharpening. But you know as well as I do that whoever finds La Corona first will make history. His eyes flicker to Sophia's satchel, where the corner of her grandfather's map peeks out. Perhaps we can work together. Share our findings, yes? Sophia stiffens. We're not interested in partnership, she replies, keeping her voice steady. And we don't have anything to share. Victor steps closer, voice dropping. Come now, Dr. Alvarez, let's not pretend. I know you're close to something important. I can help you, protect you. There are dangers in these woods that even the bravest scientists can't handle. His eyes glint with unspoken threats. Luis stands his ground, and Anna quietly slips her hand into her backpack, ready to defend her notes. Javier edges closer to Sofia, his jaw set. Victor's smile fades. He signals to his companions, who move with calculated efficiency, blocking the group's retreat. The muscular man lets his hand rest on the grip of a pistol holstered at his side, a gesture meant as both warning and promise. Sofia's mind races. She recalls stories of rival teams sabotaging expeditions, even reports of violence deep in the jungle where the law rarely reaches. We're not afraid, she says, voice firm. But we won't be bullied. Victor laughs softly, his tone suddenly all business. You have something I want. I will give you one chance. Hand over your map and I will let you walk away. Refuse and, well, accidents happen in places like this. For a moment, time stands still. The only sound is the frantic beating of Sofia's heart. Then Luis shifts his stance, drawing Victor's attention, and Anna gives Sofia a quick, meaningful look, a signal. Sofia uses the moment to slip the map from her satchel and tuck it into the back of her waistband beneath her shirt. Javier breaks the tension with a feigned cough, then launches into a rapid stream of questions in Spanish, feigning ignorance and distraction. Are you lost? Are you looking for the river? Did you see the monkeys back there? The nervous woman in Victor's group glances at her boss uncertainly, as if she isn't entirely sure about this confrontation. Victor, irritated, waves his hand. Enough! You think you can outsmart me? I will be watching you. If you value your safety, I suggest you change course. He steps back, and with a final threatening glance, disappears into the shadows, his companions trailing behind. The tension remains in the clearing like a storm cloud long after they are gone. The team stands still for a moment, listening to the brush settle, the distant calls of birds resuming, life slowly returning to the jungle. Luis exhales shakily. We need to be careful. From now on, we move quietly and keep watch at all times.
The air has shifted. The jungle is restless, heavy with the scent of impending rain. Even the birds seem to sense the change, flitting from branch to branch in anxious bursts. After the tense encounter with Victor and his crew, Sofia's team pushes forward with grim determination, nerves buzzing and eyes keen for any sign of pursuit. The sky is already bruised with clouds, turning the filtered sunlight into an uneasy, silvery haze. The map guides them to a narrow ravine, its muddy sides streaked with the faint trickle of water. Luis pauses at the edge and sniffs the air. The rains are coming. If we're caught in the open, we'll be in trouble. His voice is calm, but his gaze sweeps the treetops with concern. Anna wipes sweat from her brow, eyes flickering to the sky. We need shelter. Fast. When it starts, it won't stop for hours. Sofia nods. Her pulse has only just begun to slow from the confrontation. But there's no time for reflection. She studies the ridgeline, searching for any hint of overhang or cave. The first fat drops of rain spatter down, sending up puffs of dust from the leaves. Javier, who has been scouting ahead, calls back. Over here. I found something. The team scrambles after him, slipping and sliding down a bank, ducking beneath dripping vines and twisting branches. The sound of rainfall intensifies, thunder rumbling in the distance, like the awakening of an ancient god. Javier's discovery is a narrow cave mouth, half concealed by a tangle of roots and wild orchids. "It's not much," he says with a grin, "but it'll keep us dry." Luis inspects the entrance, nodding in approval, then gestures for everyone to hurry inside. The transition from jungle to cave is abrupt. Outside, rain drums a relentless tattoo on the canopy. Inside, the world is dark and cool, the air tinged with the earthy scent of stone and bat guano. The team sets their packs down and spreads a tarp just inside the entrance, giving them a dry patch to rest. Sophia's hands tremble as she pours water into her canteen, the adrenaline of the day finally catching up to her. Lightning flashes, briefly illuminating the cavern's depths. Anna's eyes widen behind her fogged glasses. "Look at these walls," she whispers. She holds up a headlamp, the beam dancing over faded red and black markings, glyphs, drawings, a scatter of handprints. This is ancient and beautiful. They gather around Anna, each in awe. The cave walls are covered with symbols, jaguars, birds, and enigmatic spirals interspersed with sequences of vertical lines. Maya numerals, perhaps, or a record of something long forgotten. Sophia gingerly reaches out, her fingers hovering just above the surface. Louis crouches near the far end, his face lit with wonder and suspicion. "Caves like this are often sacred," he says. "Places of ritual or burial." The thunder grows louder, rolling across the jungle in waves. In the flickering light, the shadows of the cave seem to dance, the painted figures coming alive. Javier, fearless as ever, peers deeper into the shadows. "There's more back here!" His voice echoes off the stone, making everyone jump. Sophia follows, headlamps slicing through the gloom. Deeper inside, the cave opens into a small chamber where the glyphs grow denser and the air colder. On the ground, nestled among pebbles, lies a broken piece of obsidian, sharp and gleaming black, a ritual blade. Sophia lifts it gently, cradling it in her palm as Anna snaps photos. "Careful," Anna murmurs. These objects weren't just tools, they were offerings. The rain intensifies, battering the jungle with such force that water seeps through cracks in the stone, trickling down the walls. Javier sets up a tiny camp stove, the hiss of the flame oddly comforting in the darkness. Luis and Anna work together to string a line for their damp clothes. Y plouf, while Sophia catalogues each glyph and artifact, her mind racing with questions. Who left these marks? What stories are hidden in these stones? The storm rages for hours, trapping them in the womb of the earth. Yet, instead of fear, Sophia feels an unexpected sense of safety. Here, surrounded by the symbols and offerings of another age, the outside world seems far away. As evening approaches and the rain finally begins to ease, the team sits around a flickering lantern. They share stories of storms from other expeditions, moments of fear and awe in far-off lands. Laughter bounces off the walls, blending with the ancient echoes all around. Sophia, staring at the glyphs, thinks of her grandfather's words. "Listen to the stones. They remember." Here, in this cave, the past is not buried. It is waiting, patient, and enduring. And as the rain slows to a gentle drip, she knows they are closer than ever. To the heart of La Corona, night lingers stubbornly in the cave, broken only by the pale cones of headlamps sweeping across the walls. The steady tap of water echoes through the chamber, each drop falling like the slow ticking of an ancient clock. The storm has passed, but a heavy silence hangs in its wake, a hush that feels both protective and ominous, as if the spirits of the cave are listening to every word. Sophia sits cross-legged on the cool stone, her field journal balanced on her knees. In the dim light, the red and black glyphs come alive, their shapes undulating with the shifting shadows. Anna crouches nearby, carefully photographing each symbol and tracing the outlines with gloved fingers, while Luis stands guard at the entrance, eyes alert for any movement outside. human or otherwise. The cave feels like a place apart from time, where the everyday world is held at bay. Here, the past is close, almost tangible. Sophia runs her hands over the glyphs, whispering softly in Spanish and Maya, hoping to unlock their secrets. These symbols, they match the ones on the stela, she murmurs, comparing her pencil rubbings. But there's more. Look here, this is a calendar glyph, and here a royal name. Anna's breath catches as she adjusts her glasses, peering closer at the wall. This is the emblem glyph for La Corona, and this, Lady of the Sun. That's not a name I've seen before. Excitement flickers in her voice, chasing away the remnants of fatigue. Sophia's hands tremble as she copies the glyphs into her journal. Episte, each stroke connecting her to the hands that carved these symbols centuries ago. My grandfather believed there was a lost dynasty here, one barely mentioned in the codices. Maybe this Lady of the Sun was its queen. These markings, she pauses, voice reverent. They're like a message left for us to find. Javier, ever restless, shines his flashlight deeper into the chamber. If there are messages, maybe there's a map? Or a warning? His voice is light, but his eyes flicker with worry. He kneels beside Sophia, holding the light steady while she sketches. Outside, the night creatures begin their chorus anew. The shrill whir of cicadas, mingling with the distant call of a jaguar. Luis glances back at the group. We shouldn't linger too long, he warns quietly. The cave is safe for now, but the air is changing again. Anna nods, but her curiosity is unstoppable. Just a little longer, she pleads, voice low. These glyphs, they're telling a story. Here, see this line? It's a journey, maybe a pilgrimage. She traces the path with her finger, following a line of tiny feet carved into the stone. It leads to temple or an underworld? Sophia's mind races, filling with images from Maya cosmology. Heroes descending into Xibalba, kings crossing rivers of blood and stars. She sketches the scene, her lines steady despite the tremor in her heart. This could be the path to La Corona's heart, she whispers. Or its greatest secret. A faint sound from the entrance makes everyone freeze. Luis raises a hand, signaling silence. For a long moment, only the heartbeat of dripping water fills the cave. Then a small, inquisitive Kinkajo emerges from the darkness, its round eyes shining in the lamplight. Javier laughs in relief, tossing it a piece of dried fruit, and the animal scampers away, vanishing into a crack in the wall. The spell is broken, and the team exhales, the tension ebbing. Sophia closes her journal and carefully packs away her rubbings and notes. We've found something important here, she says. Not just evidence of La Corona, but a voice. Someone trying to be remembered. Anna snaps a few last photographs. The flash illuminating the intricate lines of the glyphs, lines that have survived centuries of rain and darkness, waiting for someone to find them. She grins at Sophia, pride and wonder shining in her eyes. We're not alone on this journey, she whispers. They're guiding us. As the team prepares to leave, Sophia takes one last look at the wall, committing the symbols to memory. The Lady of the Sun, the journey, the temple, each a piece of a puzzle stretching back through time. Outside, the rain has stopped, leaving the jungle washed clean and glistening in the moonlight. The air is thick with the scent of earth and blooming orchids. The team emerges from the cave, blinking in the fresh coolness, each of them changed by what they have seen. Luis leads the way, his machete glinting in the moonlight. Javier shoulders his pack, humming softly. Anna walks beside Sophia, clutching her notebook like a precious treasure. Sophia glances back at the cave mouth, feeling the weight of the past pressing close, urging her onward. She touches the jade pendant at her throat, silent promise to the ancestors whose voices linger in the gloom. Tonight, the jungle seems less daunting, its secrets just a little closer to being revealed. The sun rises reluctantly, its pale light slow to filter through the thick jungle canopy. Every surface glistens from the storm, mossy trunks, dripping leaves, the dark soil churned by the night's downpour. Sophia's team packs up camp in silence, their minds still haunted by the glyphs and stories of the cave. The air is heavy, full of promise and threat. They push onward, leaving the safety of the cave behind. Anna studies the map, tracing the new clues they uncovered: a river shaped like a serpent, a jaguar's paw, the lady of the sun. Every step is a negotiation with the jungle, the ground treacherous with mud, roots, and fallen branches. Javier forges ahead, eager to scout the path, whistling to himself to ward off the hush. "Stay close," Luis warns, eyes scanning the tangled undergrowth. After the rain, old trails can vanish. And we are not alone. The tension left by Victor and his crew lingers. Every broken branch or distant sound feels like a warning. The group moves carefully, boots slipping in mud, machetes hacking through vines. Sweat stings their eyes. Still they press forward, led by the sense that they are following not just a trail, but a story left behind by the ancients. They come to a narrow ravine overhung with ferns and vines. Luis stops, testing the earth with his boot. There's a game trail here. It could cut hours off our journey, but it's risky. Sometimes hunters, human or animal, set traps along these paths. Sophia hesitates, then nods. "We're running out of daylight. We'll take the risk," Javier, buoyed by the adventure, takes the lead. He steps lightly, eyes peeled for snares or tripwires. The others follow close, Anna clutching her notebook, Sophia reviewing their route, Luis sweeping the brush ahead with his machete. Suddenly, a sharp snap, the whir of something flying through the air. Before anyone can react, Javier cries out, stumbling to his knees. An arrow, slender and wickedly tipped, juts from his upper arm. "The jungle erupts in chaos, Javier!" Sophia shouts, rushing to his side. Anna drops her notebook and scrambles for the medical kit. Luis's eyes dart in every direction, machete raised, body tense and ready. Javier grits his teeth, face pale and slick with sweat. It burns, he gasps, voice already thick with pain. Luis crouches, expertly snapping off the shaft of the arrow to prevent further injury. "It's poisoned," he says grimly, examining the dark stain at the wound's edge. "Jungle hunters use this on monkeys, sometimes on trespassers." He rips a strip from his shirt, tying it above the wound as a tourniquet. Anna fumbles with the kit, hands shaking as she finds the small vial of antivenom. "They'd brought just in case." "Hold him still," she commands. Sophia steadies Javier, murmuring comfort as Anna cleans the wound and injects the antidote. The moment stretches out, filled with the frantic whisper of wind in the trees and Javier's ragged breaths. Minutes pass, agonizing, uncertain. Javier's eyes flutter, his skin grows clammy. Sophia feels helpless, fear knotting her stomach. All their careful plans, all their training, mean little in the face of the jungle's old, merciless rules. Luis rips more fabric, binding the wound tightly. He needs rest. "We can't move fast with him like this." Sophia nods, trying to keep her voice steady. "We stay put. We'll keep watch." Everyone takes shifts. We're not going anywhere until he's stable. The group drags Javier to the base of a wide saber tree, the roots forming a natural shelter. Anna holds his hand, checking his pulse and murmuring encouragement. Luis disappears into the brush, returning with leaves and herbs he crushes to make a poultice, pressing it gently to the wound. Guade. As the day passes, the team's world shrinks to the circle of their makeshift camp. Sophia keeps watch. Every sound and movement in the jungle magnified by fear and exhaustion. Anna sketches and documents the trap, noting the design of the arrow and the pattern of the fletching. Proof, perhaps, that someone does not want them here. Javier slips in and out of feverish dreams, mumbling about ancient kings and rivers of stars. Sophia listens, wondering if the Lady of the Sun watches over them still. By dusk, the fever begins to break. Javier's breathing steadies, color returning to his cheeks. Anna lets out a shaky laugh, wiping tears from her eyes. "He's going to be okay," she whispers. Luis stands at the edge of the clearing, eyes hard as flint. This was no accident. There are guardians here, human or spirit, I can't say, but they know we're close. Night falls again, thick and absolute. The team huddles together, Javier drifting into a healing sleep, Sophia's hand resting on the jade pendant at her throat. They have been tested by the jungle and survived, barely. But the message is clear. La Corona is not just lost to time. It is protected, and the closer they draw, the greater the dangers that await. Night's shadows melt away as a misty dawn spreads across the jungle, pale and uncertain. The air is cool, thick, with the scent of wet leaves and bruised earth. The world feels changed after Javier's ordeal, fragile, as if the boundary between the present and the ancient past has worn thin. Javier sleeps restlessly, fever still clinging to him, but his color is better. Anna sits nearby, notebook in hand, quietly watching over him and jotting down his symptoms. Luis moves like a ghost, machete never far from reach, his eyes flicking constantly to the undergrowth. The message of the poisoned arrow is clear. They are being watched. Whether by living men or ancient spirits, it no longer matters. Sophia is restless, driven by an urgency. She can't quite explain. She checks the map, tracing their route and the cryptic marks that seem to shift in meaning as they get closer to La Corona. She wonders if their pursuers are near, or if the jungle itself is testing them. She touches her jade pendant, a gesture for luck and protection. As the sun climbs, they prepare to move. Luis proposes that he and Sophia scout ahead, while Anna tends to Javier, giving him time to recover. They agree. The two slip quietly into the green, guided by instinct and the faint marks on ancient stone. It is Luis who spots them first, human shapes, glimpsed through a filigree of ferns and vines, moving with a grace that is almost otherworldly. He signals to Sophia, and together they crouch low, moving slowly, every sense straining. They are not alone. In a clearing up ahead, several figures emerge. A group of men and women, faces painted with intricate blue and red designs, their clothes woven in brilliant, traditional patterns. They move with purpose, silent, but not unfriendly. At their head stands a tall woman, her long black hair braided and adorned with jade beads, eyes piercing and proud. She carries a wooden staff inlaid with turquoise and obsidian. Luis whispers, "Descendants, guardians." Sophia recognizes the signs. She has read of such groups, modern Maya who have pledged themselves to protect sacred sites, passing down the old ways and ancient stories, keeping outsiders at bay. The woman steps forward, raising her staff in greeting and challenge. Her voice is strong, her Spanish tinged with the melodic cadence of her native language. "Why do you come here?" "What do you seek?" Sophia stands, lowering her machete, hands open. "We seek knowledge. We seek to understand. We come with respect." Her voice does not waver, though her heart thunders. The woman regards Sophia for a long moment, as if measuring her soul. The other guardians spread in a silent circle, encircling Sophia and Luis, but not threatening, simply present like sentinels. Finally, The woman nods. I am Ixchel. This land remembers. It remembers the footprints of thieves and the promises of the faithful. Which are you? The night in the jungle is gentle. After the guardians visit, as if the very air is changed by their presence. Sophia sleeps with the jade mask beside her head, its surface cool and strangely calming. In the early gray of dawn, the team stirs quietly, their hearts lighter. Even Javier, who, though still bandaged, insists he feels strong enough to walk. The gifts of food and medicine from Ixchel and her people feel like a blessing, a promise that the jungle, while still dangerous, has given them a cautious welcome. As they eat breakfast, fresh tortillas, slices of papaya, and sweet steaming tea, Sophia studies the jade mask. It is a masterpiece of ancient artistry, delicately carved features, the eyes wide and oval, the lips pursed in an eternal secret. The stone itself is veined with hints of gold and emerald. There are tiny glyphs etched along the inner rim, almost invisible without direct sunlight. Sophia holds it up to the rising sun, watching the glyphs flash green fire in the morning light. Anna leans in, her excitement barely contained. "Do you see that?" she whispers. "These symbols, oh." They match the ones in the cave and on the stela. It's the sign for passage, and this one here, royal blood. She sketches furiously, her hands trembling with anticipation. Javier, arm in a sling but spirits high, jokes. Maybe it's a secret map, or a key to a hidden door. He winces as he shifts, but his eyes sparkle with the adventure. Luis examines the mask with quiet reverence. The guardians called it a key, but a key to what? His voice is hushed, as if afraid to offend the spirits watching them. Sophia gently turns the mask over, her fingers tracing the glyphs. Ixchel said it's a promise, as well as a key. I think it's meant to show us the way, if we know how to look. She recalls the words of the cave's glyphs, the journey line leading to a temple, the Lady of the Sun watching over all. A sense of destiny settles over her, sharp and electric. With Javier stable and everyone eager, they set off deeper into the jungle, following clues pieced together from Stella Cave, and now the mask. The morning is cool and fragrant. The song of birds is punctuated by the distant call of howler monkeys. Luis leads, careful but swift, keeping an eye on the undergrowth for more traps. Anna and Sophia consult the mask and map constantly, comparing glyphs and landscape, hunting for patterns in the terrain. "Look," Anna says, stopping at a cluster of stones. "These are shaped like the glyph for heart, just like the one inside the mask. I think we're meant to follow these markers. Hours pass in a dream of green. They cross shallow streams, duck beneath hanging vines, and scramble over fallen logs. Each step takes them further from the familiar world and deeper into the ancient heart of La Corona. At midday, they reach a clearing where the jungle opens suddenly, as if pulled aside by invisible hands. In the center stands a massive ceiba tree, its roots curled and twisted, embracing a circle of stone altars. The altars are carved with faces, some serene, some fierce, and each wears a small mask, fragments of jade and shell and obsidian. Sophia kneels, heart pounding, and gently places the mask. Ixchel gave her onto one of the altars. Nothing happens at first. The team waits, breath held, the silence thick with expectation. Then, as the sun climbs directly overhead, a single shaft of light pierces the canopy, illuminating the mask so that it glows like living emerald. Suddenly, the carved faces on the altars seem to shift, their expressions coming alive in the moving light. The air vibrates with a sound halfway between wind and music, a low, humming resonance that Sophia feels in her bones. A shadow falls across the glyphs on the altar, aligning perfectly with the symbols for passage and royal blood. A hidden panel slides open in the earth, revealing a dark staircase spiraling down beneath the roots of the tree. For a moment, no one moves. Then Luis, ever the protector, steps forward and peers into the shadowed stairwell. "It's safe," he says quietly, though his voice quivers. "At least as safe as anything here." Javier, emboldened by the miracle, grins. "Well, we didn't come all this way to turn back now." He clutches his sling tight and follows Luis into the darkness. Sofia lingers, lifting the mask and pressing it to her chest in gratitude. She whispers a thank you to Ixchel, to the guardians, and to the ancestors who have guided her so far. She feels the jungle watching, not as an adversary, but as a witness to her promise. Anna snaps one last photograph, the mask glowing in the sun, the saber tree towering above, roots curling protectively around the ancient stones. Then, with one last breath of jungle air, she follows her friends underground, into the unknown. The stairway beneath the ceiba tree is ancient, cool and dank, spiraling down into the belly of the earth. The steps are slick with moss and thyme, but Sofia and her team move cautiously, headlamps slicing through the darkness. The jade mask feels heavy in Sofia's hand, its polished surface warm from the sun above. She can still feel the hush of the clearing, the way the sunlight had revealed secrets hidden for centuries. They emerge from the stairwell into a narrow tunnel, and the air close and rich with the scent of earth and wet stone. Faint glyphs are etched along the walls, their lines worn thin but still discernible. Anna pauses frequently to photograph and sketch, her awe undimmed by the darkness. "These are burial glyphs," she whispers, "prayers for safe passage." This was a sacred way. The passage twists and bends, leading the team ever deeper. The sounds of the jungle fade, replaced by a rhythmic drip of water somewhere ahead. Eventually, the tunnel opens onto a cavernous chamber, where the sound of running water echoes from stone to stone. A narrow river cuts through the chamber, its banks strewn with broken pottery, animal bones, and, in some places, human remains bleached by the steady flow. Skulls, femurs, ribs, bones piled high as offerings, as warnings, or perhaps as the result of ancient rituals lost to time. The air is colder here, and the team's voices fall to hushed whispers. Luis moves forward, his machete lowered but ready, scanning for signs of danger. "This is no ordinary burial," he mutters. "Something happened here." Javier, his arm still bound but strength returning, kneels by the water's edge. He lifts a carved fragment from the mud, a jaguar's head, sharp-toothed and still fierce despite the centuries. "Do you think this was a sacrifice?" he asks, voice trembling. Anna crouches beside him, gently brushing mud from the bone piles. "The Maya believed the underworld was reached through water," she says softly. "This river, it could be a portal, a way for the dead to reach the next world, and maybe a way to keep the living from intruding." Sofia kneels on the bank, running her fingers over the smooth curve of a skull. She feels the weight of so many lives, the pressure of so many stories. She wonders who these people were: priests, kings, captives, pilgrims. Did they come willingly, or were they brought by force? The jade mask pulses in her hand, as if urging her to move forward, to look past fear. Luis gestures downriver, where the water disappears into another tunnel. "We'll have to wade through," he says grimly. "There's no other way." The group sheds their packs and shoes, rolling up pants and strapping headlamps to their foreheads. Sofia tucks the jade mask into a pouch at her waist, double-checking its security. She wades into the water, feeling the chill bite at her calves, her heart racing. The current is slow but insistent. tugging at their feet. The riverbed is littered with smooth stones and the occasional brush of bone. The darkness is nearly total, relieved only by the trembling cones of their lights. Every step feels like trespass, every splash a disturbance in the silence of the dead. About halfway through, Anna stumbles, her foot catching on something submerged. She gasps, steadying herself on Sophia's shoulder. When she looks down, she sees a bundle of obsidian blades tied with braided cord, a ritual offering, perfectly preserved. "It's for the gods," she whispers, eyes wide. "We shouldn't touch it," Luis nods in agreement, urging them on. "Keep moving. We honor the dead by passing through, not by taking." The tunnel narrows, and the river deepens briefly, forcing the team to swim for a short stretch. Javier's injury slows him, but Sofia and Luis help him through, their arms strong and steady. The cold numbs their feet and fingers, but at last the tunnel opens into another chamber, this one higher, the river spilling out into a small pool surrounded by carved pillars. The bones thin out here, replaced by rows of clay vessels and incense burners. The air is thick with the scent of ancient resins, copal, pine, and something sweet and bitter. Glyphs line the pillars, telling stories of kings and queens, wars and alliances, droughts and feasts. Anna reads aloud as she copies the images. Here, the Lady of the Sun. She led her people through darkness. She gave blood and light in equal measure. Javier sinks to the floor, shivering but grinning. "We made it. We're still alive." Luis helps him to his feet, pride warming his features. Not everyone does. These places are meant to keep the unworthy away. The chamber beyond the river of bones is a world carved in shadow and memory. As the team's lights play across the stone, murals emerge, scenes painted in ochre, charcoal, and faded indigo, telling tales of ancient glory and catastrophe. The air is thick with dust, yet charged with something alive, a pulse of stories waiting to be heard. Sophia stands at the entrance, the jade mask at her hip, heart pounding with anticipation. Anna moves ahead, notebook and camera ready, her eyes wide as she takes in the wall's panorama. "Look at this," she whispers, voice trembling with awe. It's a battle scene. The glyphs, they name kings, cities, alliances. This is the history of La Corona's wars. Luis circles the room's perimeter, machete lowered but ready, examining every shadow and niche. Javier lingers near a low stone table where small clay figurines, warriors, kings, and jaguars are arranged as if waiting for the hand of a long-gone child to set them in motion again. Anna begins deciphering the glyphs aloud, her voice rising with excitement as she pieces together the tangled lineage of La Corona. Here, Lord of the Sky Shield, and here, Lady of the Sun. Seeing, this mural shows two armies, one carrying banners with the jaguar, the other with the serpent. There are fire glyphs, so much fire, spears and arrows in flight. Sophia watches as Anna's fingers trace the story. Armies clashing beneath rain-laden clouds, kings and queens in feathered headdresses, priests raising obsidian blades in desperate prayers. The faces of the dead are everywhere, eyes open, mouths set in a silent wail. It's not just one war, Sophia observes quietly. It's generations, a cycle of peace and betrayal, alliance and collapse. Javier examines the clay figures, arranging them by the mural, matching warrior to warrior, king to king. "It's like a map," he says. "Maybe we can see who won, who survived." Anna nods. La Corona was caught between larger powers, Calakmul, Tikal, always fighting, always shifting alliances. And here, she points to a figure at the mural's center, a woman standing tall over a fallen king, rays of sunlight radiating from her headdress. That must be the Lady of the Sun. She brokered peace, maybe, brought light after all this blood. Louis's gaze sharpens at the far end of the chamber, where the murals darken. Here. See this? He calls. A jaguar with a broken fang. That's a symbol of defeat, of the fall of a dynasty. It's carved over the glyph for La Corona. The city fell, and its people scattered. Sophia feels the weight of loss in the painted faces, the broken bodies, the flames-consuming temples. She touches the jade mask, wondering if it was worn in triumph or in mourning. This place was meant as a warning, she says. A record, but also a plea to remember. Anna turns from the wall, her notebook full of hurried sketches. The Maya saw war as both tragedy and necessity. They honored the fallen, but they also learned, adapted. This mural, it's both a lament and a survival story. Javia, fingers smudged with clay, arranges the last figurine. A jaguar at the feet of the Lady of the Sun. She survived, he says quietly. Or at least, her story did. Louise inspects a battered shield found in a corner, its surface carved with glyphs. People lived and died here. They fought for their city, for their families. It's not so different from now, is it? Sophia feels a chill, imagining the chamber as it once was. A place of fear and hope, where people came to plead for mercy, to record victories, to mourn what was lost. The echoes of war still vibrate in the stones, a reminder that every discovery is built on the bones of those who came before. She turns to her team, their faces illuminated by lamplight and history. We carry their stories now. That's the real treasure. The group lingers in the chamber, honoring the mural with silence. Each is lost in their own thoughts, feeling the resonance of history. Not as distant legend, but as something urgent, almost alive. As they prepare to leave, Anna gives one last glance at the mural, then closes her notebook with reverence. "Let's go," she says softly. "The past has spoken. Now it's our turn to listen and remember." With that, the team files out of the chamber, shadows stretching behind them. The echoes of war fading but never truly gone. The heat of the day presses close as the team leaves behind the chamber of war and memory. Outside the tunnels, the jungle seems to pulse with new life. Tree frogs chorus from above. Sunlight glitters through dripping leaves, and somewhere in the distance a toucan calls. Each step feels lighter, as if the weight of the past has cleared a path forward. Sophia walks at the front, the jade mask and the stories they've gathered guiding her. The map is nearly useless now. The landscape is a living maze, shifting with every rainfall and season. But the clues are in the ground beneath their boots, and in the way the forest grows, sometimes almost too thick and suspiciously clear. They push through tangled undergrowth, guided by instinct and echoes of glyphs: heart, passage, sun, king. It is Anna who first senses the change. "Wait," she whispers, stopping suddenly and kneeling to brush away a mat of moss. Beneath it, the edge of a stone, carved, not natural, gleams in the sunlight. She scrapes away more, and soon Luis and Javier join in, hands brushing aside leaves, mud, and vines. More stone surfaces, straight lines, geometric corners, the unmistakable signature of human hands. Excitement surges. Sophia kneels, pressing her palm to the cold stone, feeling the thrum of history rising from the earth. "We're here," she breathes. "We must be." As the group fans out, they find more and more evidence: toppled blocks with glyphs partially visible, chunks of wall where plaster still clings, and a series of steps, wide and shallow, built for ceremonial procession, rising from a forest floor now covered in centuries of soil. Roots wind through the cracks, weaving the jungle and city together. in a slow, inevitable embrace. The team works in a flurry of discovery. Anna photographs glyphs on a half-buried stela, reading off bits of dynastic names and astronomical symbols. "This marks the solstice," she announces, "and this, it's the royal emblem, like the mask." Javier scrambles over a low mound, uncovering the outline of what was once a plaza. A wide space, now rimmed by collapsed columns, where moss and orchids bloom unchecked. Louis stands atop a crumbling platform, scanning the surrounding trees. "There's more back here," he calls. The others hurry to join him and find, through a veil of vines, the remains of a stepped pyramid, its peak shattered by time, but unmistakable in its majesty. For a moment, all is silent. The team stands, awestruck, as the sunlight catches the broken stone and the breeze stirs the leaves. It is as if the city has been waiting, patient and proud, to be revealed once more. Sofia can hardly breathe. She circles the pyramid, tracing the intricate carvings along its base. Stylized serpents, feathers, and the same radiant sun that decorates the mask. She touches each glyph reverently, whispering the words she knows: Kinich, Sun, Ajah, Lord, Washak, 8. Each one feels like a greeting, a connection to those who once called this place home. Anna's voice is shaky with emotion as she photographs the scene. It's real. La Corona wasn't a myth. These stones, these people, they lived here. They watched the same stars, dreamed the same dreams. Javier, ever the optimist, begins to clear away fallen branches, trying to uncover the outline of what must have been a marketplace or gathering space. "Imagine what it sounded like," he says, his tone soft with wonder. Music, voices, the footsteps of thousands. Louis remains vigilant, scanning the jungle's edge. This city was hidden for a reason, he reminds them. "We should be careful. There may be more traps or others who don't want us here." Itanti, the air is electric with discovery. Every corner of La Corona yields a new surprise. But nothing captures the team's imagination more than the colossal slab half-munus. Buried at the foot of the pyramid, a stone unlike the others, wider and thicker, covered in spirals, glyphs, and precisely carved dots and bars. Anna is the first to realize its significance. She runs her fingers over the edges, her breath catching as the afternoon sun casts shadows in the grooves. "It's a calendar," she whispers, voice trembling with awe. "A Maya calendar stone. Look at the intervals, the symbols for Venus, the numbers for Baktuns and Katuns. This could mark the rise and fall of La Corona itself." Sofia kneels beside her, dusting away centuries of debris. Each brushstroke reveals more of the story: day glyphs, solar cycles, eclipses, records of harvests and rituals. The sheer size and detail are staggering. This was not a marker for a single event, but a record for generations. Javier joins in, using a sturdy branch to lever away a fallen log. "It's beautiful," he says, his voice hushed. "All those numbers and pictures, do you think it tells the day the city ended?" Louis remains on guard, standing at the perimeter with his machete, scanning the forest. But even he can't help but be drawn in, eyes lingering on the swirling patterns and the monumental artistry. Anna flips to a new page in her notebook, translating the glyphs as quickly as she can. "This is the emblem of the Lady of the Sun, and here, it says, when the jaguar star vanished. That must be an eclipse. And here, the year the Serpent King fell." She sketches the sequence, tracing the line of time, from the founding of the city to its greatest triumphs and, finally, to a series of glyphs for war, famine, and darkness. Sofia follows the narrative with reverence, feeling the story unfold beneath her hands. She's no longer just an outsider. She's become a reader of the city's memory, welcomed into its heart. She whispers translations as she works. Kinich Aja, the Sun Lord. The day of red rain, the time of hunger, when the maize wilted, the last feast before the river ran dry. Javier sits back on his heels, brow furrowed. It's not just dates. It's a warning, isn't it? A message to whoever came after. Don't forget. Don't let history repeat. Anna nods, her eyes moist with emotion. This is why the calendar stones were so important. They weren't just about keeping time. They were about holding on to memory, about learning from the past. Sophia runs her hand over the edge of the stone, feeling the deep grooves where ancient artists carved their stories. She imagines the scribes and priests, heads bowed in concentration, inscribing each event for future eyes. How many had hoped their warnings would be heeded? How many prayed that their city would be remembered? Louis, ever practical, keeps an eye on the fading light. Let's document everything before night falls. We don't know what might come through the jungle. After dark, the team springs into action. Anna photographing every inch, Javier making rubbings and sketches, Sophia transcribing the longest lines of glyphs, and Luis clearing brush and marking the area for a return. The energy is contagious. Even fatigue cannot dull the sense that they are participating in something timeless. As the sun begins to set, painting the city gold and crimson, Sophia sits back, journal full of notes and heart full of gratitude. We came looking for a lost city, she says softly. But what we've really found is a message, a bridge from the past to the future. For a moment, they all sit in silence, surrounded by the ancient stones and the living jungle, listening to the low hum of insects and the distant calls of howler monkeys. The calendar stone glows softly in the last rays of sunlight, its story safe in the hands of those who would listen. As dusk falls, Sophia places the jade mask gently on top of the calendar stone, a gesture of thanks and respect. In the shadows it glimmers, half artifact, half blessing, a promise that La Corona and its people will not be forgotten. Night has barely fallen when the calm of discovery shatters. The city sleeps beneath a silvered sky, moonlight flowing over broken pyramids and mossy stones, but Sophia's team remains at the calendar stone, still caught up in the magic of their find. Lanterns flicker around the dig, sketchbooks and cameras packed away for the night. Luis paces the perimeter with practiced vigilance, uneasy despite the day's triumph. From the darkness beyond the plaza comes a sudden, muffled sound. A snapped twig, a rustle of undergrowth, the faint crunch of boots. Luis stiffens and signals to the group. Before anyone can react, 3 figures step into the circle of lamplight. Victor Rojas and his 2 companions, their faces grim, weapons visible at their hips. Sophia's blood runs cold. Victor's smile is gone, replaced with a wolfish hunger. "Congratulations, Doctor Alvarez," he says, voice slick with false civility. "You've found what we all came for, but it seems you've forgotten how this game is played." Javier steps protectively in front of Anna, who clutches her notebook close. Luis holds his machete low, ready to defend, but Victor lifts his pistol in a casual warning. "Don't make this difficult," he says, voice steely. "You have the mask. Hand it over, and no one gets hurt." Sophia's eyes dart to the calendar stone, where the jade mask still glimmers in the lantern glow. Her mind races. Every instinct tells her not to give up what they've found, but she sees Anna's fear, Javier's tense posture, and Luis's thinly veiled rage. She knows Victor won't hesitate to use force. Victor's companion, a silent, muscular man, moves toward the mask, but Luis blocks his path. "We came here to honor this place, not steal from it," He spits, every word a challenge. Victor shrugs. History belongs to the bold, my friend. Or did you think the world would just let you keep such a prize? Without warning, Victor lunges, grabbing Anna's wrist and twisting her arm behind her back. Anna cries out, dropping her notebook. "Let her go!" Sophia yells, but Victor presses the gun to Anna's side. "The mask, Doctor. Alvarez, or your friend here will join the bones in the river." The team is frozen with horror. Sophia lifts her hands in surrender, trembling but determined. "Take it," she says, voice low and furious. "But you're making a mistake." Luis glares, but stands down, unwilling to risk Anna's life. Victor snatches the jade mask and grins, triumph shining in his eyes. "You're right, Doctor. Alvarez. The past is full of mistakes, and I plan to profit from every one." He shoves Anna toward Javier, who catches her and then waves his men forward. "We're done here. Try to follow, and you'll regret it." He turns, but instead of leaving, he grabs Anna's arm again. In fact, he says, "I think you should stay with us a while, just in case your friends get any ideas about being heroes." Anna struggles, but Victor drags her into the darkness, his men following, their footsteps swallowed by the jungle. Javier lunges after them, but Luis pulls him back. They're armed. "We'll lose more if we rush in now," he warns, voice tight with pain and anger. Sophia collapses to her knees, horror and rage warring inside her. She looks at the place where the mask rested, the spot now empty, and feels a deep ancestral sorrow. The Guardian's trust, the city's secrets, now threatened by greed. Luis crouches beside her, voice steady. "We'll get her back, Sophia, and we'll take back what was stolen. But we need a plan." Javier paces furiously, fists clenched. "We can't wait. We can't wait. They'll hurt her, or worse, take the mask out of the jungle. We have to act now." Sophia steadies herself, wiping tears from her cheeks. "They'll go deeper into the ruins. The map, the glyphs. We know the city better than they do. We'll use that. We'll cut them off, find a way to rescue Anna, and recover the mask." She gathers the team, voices blending into a hurried council. Luis sketches possible routes on a scrap of paper, recalling the tunnels and plazas they've seen. Javier recounts every landmark, every trap they've encountered. Sophia flips through her notebook, searching for any clue that could give them the advantage. As they finalize their plan, the jungle seems to close in. Every shadow a threat, every whisper a warning. The stakes have never been higher. One wrong move could cost them Anna, the mask, and everything they have worked for. But as the team steels itself for the chase, Sophia feels a new strength rise inside her, a promise to the Lady of the Sun, to Ixchel, to the spirits of La Corona. They will not let greed win. The city's secrets must be protected, its story told with honor, not stolen for profit. With one last glance at the empty calendar stone, Sophia leads her friends into the darkness. Hearts pounding, the hunt for Anna, and the mask about to begin, captives. The moon is obscured by clouds, and the thick undergrowth swallows all but the narrowest thread of their lantern light. Only the faint echo of Anna's voice and the glimmer of lamplight far ahead guide them, beating in every heart. They move quickly, breathless and tense, navigating by instinct and the half-remembered patterns of glyphs and paths mapped earlier in the day. Luis leads, machete in hand, checking for traps and hidden passageways, while Sophia follows close, notebook and map gripped tight. Javier, adrenaline masking his pain, limps behind, eyes sharp for any sign of Anna or the jade mask. Adrenaline masking his pain, limps behind. Any bear. Victor and his men have vanished into the maze of ruins at the pyramid's base, a warren of tunnels, collapsed chambers, and forgotten stairways, all veiled by centuries of roots and stone. Sophia's mind races as they descend a crumbling staircase, revealed by moonlight. She recalls Anna's translations. The heart of La Corona is hidden below, in tunnels that test the worthy. Only those with knowledge and respect for the old ways may pass unscathed. They pause at a branching passage, glyphs carved along the entryway. Sophia deciphers the warning, Jaguar's mouth. Beware false kings. The path of light is not always straight. She bites her lip, weighing options, then nods toward the left, trusting in Anna's scholarship and her own intuition. Inside, the tunnels twist and double back, lit only by their shaking lanterns and the ghostly glimmer of phosphorescent fungi. Every footfall is perilous. Trapdoors masked by moss, pressure plates hidden beneath dust. In one alcove, Javier nearly triggers a dart mechanism, only to be yanked back by Luis at the last moment. Easy, Luis whispers. Victor may be ruthless, but even he doesn't know these tunnels. His greed is his weakness. Farther in, the air grows close and humid. Walls are carved with scenes of ritual and passage. Priests masked in jade, lines of captives, rivers winding through darkness. The team works together, solving each puzzle with care, sliding stones to match glyphs for sun and water, arranging fallen pottery to mirror ancient star patterns. Suddenly, a faint sound, a scuffle and a stifled cry, echoes through the maze. Javier's face goes pale. "Anna!" he hisses, bolting down a side tunnel, pain forgotten. Sophia and Luis rush after him, the passage narrowing, roots brushing their faces. They burst into a larger chamber, half collapsed and crowded with shadows. At the far end, Anna is pushed to her knees by Victor's burly companion. Not while Victor holds the jade mask aloft, the beam of his flashlight dancing wildly over glyphs carved into the chamber's central column. The stone at his feet is inscribed with the image of the Lady of the Sun. And a riddle: place the mask upon the heart of the city, and the path will open, but false hands will bring ruin. Victor, impatient and sweating, tries to fit the mask onto the stone, but nothing happens. He snarls, slamming his fist against the glyphs. "Useless old myths!" he growls as Anna winces in pain. Luis signals to Sophia and Javier. Time for action. Sophia creeps closer, reading the glyphs aloud under her breath. Only the hand of the true seeker, one who honors the ancestors, may reveal the way. She locks eyes with Anna, who nods, hope flickering in her gaze. In a burst of movement, Luis and Javier distract Victor's men, Javier tossing a rock to draw them off. Luis sweeping in to disarm one with a flash of his machete. Sophia seizes the moment, racing to Anna's side and helping her up. "The mask!" Anna gasps. It must be turned so the glyph faces the rising sun. Like on the stela! Victor lunges at Sophia, wild with fury, but Javier tackles him from behind, wrestling him to the ground. Sophia grabs the mask from Victor's hand, turning it in the dim light until the glyph aligns with the eastern wall. Carefully, reverently, she fits the mask onto the carved face of the Lady of the Sun. A low rumble fills the chamber. The column shifts, sliding open to reveal a hidden stairway, plunging deeper into the earth. The ground trembles, dust sifting from the ceiling, as ancient mechanisms come to life for the first time in centuries. Victor's men, panicked, flee down a side tunnel. Victor, defeated, slumps against the stone, rage and greed drained away by fear. Luis hauls him to his feet, binding his wrists with a length of cord. "Your adventure is over," Luis says coldly. Anna clings to Sophia, relief flooding her face. You did it, she whispers. You honored the city. The ancestors are with us, Javier, breathing hard, grins in triumph. Let's see what's hidden below, before the whole place comes down on our heads. The team hurries down the revealed stairway, lanterns held high, hearts pounding with adrenaline and hope. Behind them, the maze settles into silence once more, its secrets surrendered only to those willing to listen and honor its warnings. The air is thick with dust and anticipation as Sofia, Ana, Luis, and Javier descend the newly revealed spiral staircase. Their footsteps echo in the confined darkness, the stone cool beneath their hands. Li Tingxi. Behind them, Victor, disarmed and bound, stumbles in forced silence, his greed replaced by resentment and a flicker of awe. At every turn, the past seems to reach out, guiding and warning them. The steps level out into a narrow hallway carved with glyphs and symbols. The sun, the jaguar, the serpent, and always, the Lady of the Sun, her face repeated like a blessing and a warning. Each member of the team runs a hand over the wall, feeling the smoothness worn by centuries of pilgrims and priests. Anna, though still sore from her ordeal, finds her scientific curiosity burning brighter than ever. The passage widens. The team enters a vaulted chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness, but lanterns reveal something extraordinary. A grand throne room, the heart of La Corona. The space is awe-inspiring, dominated by a massive stone throne raised on a dais, inlaid with jade and obsidian. The walls shimmer with faded paint. Scenes of coronations, feasts, and celestial events, all centered around the sun and its ruling dynasty. Rows of stone pillars line the hall, each carved with the faces and names of La Corona's ancient rulers. Clay incense burners and broken vessels lie scattered, their scents long faded, but traces of burnt copal and pine still lingering. At the far end, a mosaic of jade and shell forms the emblem of the Lady of the Sun, her arms raised to the heavens. Anna approaches the throne, running trembling fingers over its intricate glyphs. This is the royal seat, she breathes. The inscriptions, these are the rulers, the entire lineage. She begins reading aloud, translating the sequence. Lady of the Sun, daughter of Sky Shield, wife to the Serpent King. She ruled during the time of darkness and brought the light. Sophia circles the dais, notebook in hand, documenting every detail. She feels the gravity of the moment. How many years, how many lifetimes have passed since someone stood here in reverence? She envisions the Lady of the Sun, crowned and radiant, leading her people through triumph and despair. Javier stands by a stone chest half buried beside the throne. With a careful push, he opens it, revealing a trove of treasures, beaded necklaces, carved bones, obsidian blades, and a delicate headdress adorned with quetzal feathers, colors still vivid after centuries. He lifts the headdress, awestruck. Imagine the ceremonies, the power, how much of the city's history is right here. Luis paces the room's edge, eyes alert for hidden dangers. He uncovers a faded mural near the entrance. A scene of the city's final days, flames consuming the temples, priests raising arms in supplication. It ended in fire, he says quietly. But here, in this room, they left their memory, their hope for renewal. Anna sits on the edge of the dais, sketching the throne and its glyphs, translating the last lines. The city sleeps beneath the watchful sun, waiting for those who remember. She glances at Sophia, tears in her eyes. They wanted us to find this, to learn and remember. Victor, bound and silenced, glares with a mix of envy and shame. His greed had nearly destroyed everything, but now, even he, seems awed by the legacy of La Corona. Sophia lifts the jade mask, and places it gently on the throne. For a heartbeat, the room seems to glow, lantern light dancing on jade and gold, making the chamber feel alive with spirits. She bows her head, whispering thanks to Ixchel, to the Lady of the Sun, to all those whose courage and wisdom echo through the stones.
The throne room's glow lingers in the team's minds as they rest against the stone pillars, lanterns flickering and the scent of ancient incense drifting through the air. It feels as though the city itself is holding its breath, waiting for one last secret to be revealed. Sophia sits quietly at the base of the throne, studying the jade mask, her notebook open on her knees. She traces the tiny glyphs along its rim, looking for a pattern. Anna kneels beside her, cross-referencing the glyphs with those found on the murals and pillars. The rest of the team gathers close, exhaustion fighting with anticipation. Louis is the first to notice the peculiar design on the wall behind the throne. A stone effigy, its face strangely blank, arms crossed over its chest. "Look," he says, shining his lantern on the carving. "It's the Lady of the Sun, but the face is missing, almost like it's waiting for something." Javier remembers the words Anna read earlier. "Place the mask upon the heart of the city, and the path will open. But false hands will bring ruin." He glances at Sophia. Maybe the throne wasn't the end. It was a test. "This is the heart." Anna's eyes light up. She carefully translates the glyphs surrounding the effigy. It says, "Only when the face is whole shall the king's secret rise. Honor the mask, honor the blood, and the sun will reveal what lies below." It's a final puzzle, a ritual. Sophia stands and steps toward the effigy. She feels the pressure of centuries, the hope of those who hid their city's truth, the warning in every carved line. Her hands tremble as she fits the jade mask over the blank face. The mask settles in with a soft, unmistakable click. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, with a deep, resonant groan, the effigy's arms uncross and lower, and the wall behind it slides open, revealing a hidden passage choked with darkness and a faint golden light at its far end. A gust of warm, incense-laden air sweeps through the throne room, fluttering the team's notes and stirring loose feathers from the headdress. The sound that follows is like a heart beating. Thump, 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 echoing through the passage and calling them forward. Sophia's heart leaps. It worked. The mask was a key, just as Ixchel promised. She turns to Anna, who is beaming with pride and relief. Luis steps ahead, scanning for danger but finding none. No traps this time. Whoever built this wanted it found, by the right people, at the right moment. With careful steps, the team enters the hidden passage, lanterns raised high. The corridor narrows, then widens into a chamber unlike any they've seen. The air glows with reflected gold. Walls inlaid with intricate mosaics. Scenes of ritual and royalty, the sun always at the center. At the far end stands a stone sarcophagus, its lid carved with the Lady of the Sun, arms crossed in her. Sophia's breath catches. The tomb of the dynasty. This is the story at the city's heart. Anna reads the glyphs, voice trembling. "Here rests the Lady of the Sun, keeper of the city's spirit. She guards the treasure of memory and the light of renewal. Only those who honor her may see the truth and carry it to the world." Javier gazes in awe at the treasures arranged around the tomb. Jade beads, obsidian blades, delicate pottery, and a codex of bark paper miraculously preserved. "We have to document everything," he whispers. "This is the legacy of La Corona. Not gold, but memory, stories that survived." Luis, who rarely shows emotion, bows his head in respect. "We need to tell the world, but we need to protect it too." Sophia kneels beside the sarcophagus, hands shaking as she writes in her notebook. "This is our responsibility. not just to science but to the ancestors, to the living Maya, to all those who dreamed that La Corona would not be forgotten. They spend hours cataloging and photographing, careful not to disturb anything they do not have to. Sophia presses her palm to the jade mask, now restored to its rightful place, and feels a strange sense of. She whispers a promise. We will honor this story. We will be worthy of your trust. As the first light of dawn filters down the passage, the team gathers at the chamber's entrance. The final puzzle solved, the city's secret heart revealed. They stand together, witnesses to a history that waited 1,000 years for the right hands to unlock it. First light glimmers through the narrow cracks above the tomb as Sophia, Ana, Luis, and Javier stand before the Chamber of Kings. After so many days of hardship and discovery, exhaustion battles with awe. The warm golden glow within the hidden chamber is like a dawn inside the earth itself, illuminating the greatest secret La Corona has kept. The team stands in respectful silence at the threshold, lanterns casting gentle light on the walls and the stone sarcophagus. The glyphs carved above the doorway proclaim in stately Maya, "Here rests the blood of kings." And, guarded by the Lady of the Sun, the true-hearted remember and honor. Sophia is the first to step inside, her boots echoing softly against the mosaic floor. The chamber feels untouched. Rows of niches line the walls, each holding a funerary urn, a carved mask, or a small chest filled with jade and obsidian treasures. The air is dense with history, scented with the lingering traces of incense burned long ago. At the center, the sarcophagus of the Lady of the Sun lies atop a dais, its surface polished smooth and carved with scenes of her reign, the building of temples, feasts beneath starry skies, councils of kings and priests, battles, and moments of peace. Alongside her are smaller stone coffins, her consort, children, and the royal lineage that shaped La Corona. Anna, notebook in hand, moves from niche to niche, sketching artifacts and copying glyphs. Her excitement is hushed now, replaced by reverence. "Look here," she whispers, tracing a glyph. Each vessel names a king or queen, with the date of their death and a prayer for the journey to the next world. No looting, no violence, just remembrance. Javier, his sling now a badge of survival, gently opens a chest, revealing necklaces of jade beads and ceremonial blades. "These were buried with love," he murmurs. "Not for show, not for gold, but because these people believed memory was more precious than anything." Louis circles the room, ever watchful, but even he seems drawn into the chamber's peace. He finds an obsidian mirror, its surface still smooth enough to catch a flicker of lamplight and his own somber reflection. "Imagine," he says quietly, "the rulers looking into this before a coronation, seeking the guidance of their ancestors." Sophia approaches the sarcophagus, running her hand over the relief of the Lady of the Sun's serene face. The jade mask she returned now rests upon her effigy, a perfect fit. She kneels, eyes closed, feeling the weight and warmth of 1,000 years of dreams and fears, hopes and heartbreaks. She remembers Ixchel's promise, the warnings, and the trust placed in her and her friends. Anna reads aloud the final line of glyphs inscribed on the sarcophagus. "As long as our names are spoken, as long as the story endures, the sun shall rise again for La Corona." She looks up, voice choked with emotion. They knew one day someone would find this place, and they hoped we would be the ones to listen. The team sets to work with gentle care, cataloging each object, photographing every glyph and mural, making rubbings and notes. They are not just scientists or explorers now, they are witnesses, entrusted with the task of preserving the memory of a people who built a city of sun and stone in the heart of the jungle. Time seems to slow as they work, the jungle above forgotten. The only sounds are the soft murmurs of translation, the click of a camera, the careful shifting of artifacts. Even Victor, bound and sullen in the corridor, cannot break the spell of reverence that fills the room. As their work draws to a close, Sophia gathers her friends near the Lady of the Sun's tomb. "We found what we came for," she says, voice soft but certain. "But more than that, we found a story, a promise that the past is never truly lost if it's remembered. It's our duty to honor it, to share it, and to protect it for those who come after." They leave the chamber slowly, casting one last look back at the sarcophagus and the treasures it guards. At the doorway, Sophia turns and bows her head, offering a silent thanks to the Lady of the Sun, to the kings and queens who made La Corona great, and to the ancestors whose voices have led her here. As they emerge into the dawn, the city above is bathed in golden light, the jungle quiet as if in awe. The Chamber of Kings lies at the heart of La Corona, not as a tomb but as a living memory, a place where the past, present, and future are joined by the courage to seek, to honor, and to remember.
Morning has broken across the jungle, painting the upper world with a hopeful light, but in the depths beneath La Corona, the shadows of the past still linger. The team lingers at the entrance to the Chamber of Kings, not ready to leave the sanctity of memory behind. Anna, notebook clutched to her chest, stands in front of a mural that stretches the length of the burial hall. It is a mural of chaos. Fire licking at the city's rooftops, women and children fleeing, priests kneeling before an angry sky. Sophia joins her, the weight of all they have witnessed pressing down on her. She studies the mural, tracing her finger over a glyph that repeats, "Famine, famine, famine." The end came slowly, then all at once, she murmurs. They must have known what was happening, but couldn't stop it. Anna's eyes fill with sadness. It's all here. The signs of collapse, crops failing, rivers drying, enemies closing in. She points to a scene where the Lady of the Sun, her headdress wilted, stands at the edge of a cracked reservoir, surrounded by desperate faces. Even royalty couldn't escape. Javier, arm in a sling, finds a corner where the paint has flaked away, revealing layers beneath, older stories, older disasters. It happened before, too. Maybe that's why they left all these warnings. For others who might face the same fate. Louise leans against a column, lost in thought. I used to think history was just names and dates. But down here, it's people struggling, making choices, trying to survive. The mural shifts from scenes of plenty, markets bustling, festivals beneath banners of gold and green, to visions of darkness, lines of thin figures clutching maize husks, priests offering blood sacrifices to a sky devoid of rain. The sun in the mural grows dark, eclipsed by a serpent of black stone. As Anna reads the glyphs aloud, her voice becomes the voice of the past. Stredio. Rain did not fall, and the people grew afraid. Enemies gathered at the border. The Lady of the Sun fasted and wept, but the gods were silent. So the city gathered in the plaza, and the blood of kings was offered to bring back the light. The words send a chill through the group. Chuchamek. For a moment, the chamber is filled not only with their presence, but with the ghosts of those who once prayed for salvation here. Sophia closes her eyes and lets her imagination fill the silence. The roar of the crowd, the drumming of priests, the cries of the desperate, the heavy heat as hope faded. She sees the Lady of the Sun, no longer just a ruler, but a mother, a mourner, and, at the last, a sacrifice herself. Javier, always empathetic, touches a glyph of the lady at the center of her people. She didn't run, she stayed, That's why they loved her, Anna quietly writes, her sketches blending into the mural's chaos. She gave them everything she could, even her own life, maybe. Sofia feels a surge of determination, a responsibility to carry these stories beyond the walls of La Corona. That's why we're here. Not for treasure, but for truth, for understanding what it means to be human, even when the world falls apart. Luis nods. The real treasure is remembering, so we don't make the same mistakes. So we honor those who came before. The team spends hours recording every image, every line of text. Anna sketches and translates. Sofia makes notes for the eventual telling of this story to the world. Javier, with his good hand, photographs the mural in segments, while Luis keeps a watchful eye for any sign of danger, human or supernatural. Finally, the sun outside rises high enough to send a single shaft of light through the cracks, illuminating the Lady of the Sun's sorrowful face. Sofia stands with her friends, hands joined, and promises aloud, "We will remember. We will share your story." As they leave the chamber, the mural's final scene lingers in their minds. The Lady of the Sun, alone but unbowed, waiting for the dawn she could not see but believed would come, the heavy air in the chambers of La Corona is charged with the tension of recent revelations and the haunting legacy of the Lady of the Sun. Yet, for Sofia and her team, the work is not yet done. The promise they made, to remember, to share, to honor, lingers as they gather their notes and prepare to leave the sanctuary of the tomb. Luis scouts ahead, lantern held high, careful to check for signs of the living and the dead. But even as they start to make their way back toward the surface, an uneasy feeling dogs Sofia. She glances over her shoulder at Victor, still bound but brooding in silence, his eyes sharp and restless. The memory of his earlier violence is fresh, but necessity has forced them to bring him along, hoping to hand him over to the authorities when they return to civilization. Their path winds back through tunnels and corridors, the echoes of their footsteps overlapping with the imagined footfalls of generations past. In the hush, every sound is amplified. When the group pauses at a narrow junction, Anna stops to examine a glyph she missed before, and Javier checks the stability of his sling. Luis whispers, "Let's keep moving. We're not safe here." Suddenly, the silence is broken by a low, guttural voice. One of Victor's men, who must have hidden in the maze, emerges from the shadows, pistol drawn and face twisted with desperation. "Enough, hand over the rest of what you found." "Now," he snarls, waving the weapon. Victor's face lights up with the hope of reversal, struggling to his feet. "Get me out of these ropes!" he barks. For a heartbeat, time stops. Sofia shields Anna with her body. Luis moves subtly to put himself between Javier and the threat, and Victor's ally shoves Luis aside, grabbing Sofia by the arm. "You don't understand what you're playing with," she says, voice trembling with fear and greed. The gunman tries to force Sofia back into the tomb, searching for treasures, but the ground beneath their feet is unstable. Centuries-old stones loosened by recent movement. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoes through the corridor. Anna, quick thinking even under threat, shouts, "Drop! It's going to collapse!" As the tremor grows, loose rocks begin to fall from the ceiling. The gunman panics, firing wildly and missing. Just as the ground shifts, Luis tackles him, knocking the weapon free, and the two struggle in the dust and chaos. Victor, seizing the moment, tries to run for the exit but is knocked aside by falling debris. Sofia, clutching Anna, yells, "This way!" and the team scrambles toward the side tunnel, guided by the faint glow of sunlight far above. Javier grabs Victor, dragging him bodily as the air fills with choking dust, and the walls groan with ancient strain. "Move!" Javier shouts, ignoring the pain in his arm. The collapse is partial, but brutal. Stones rain down, sealing off the passage to the tomb and trapping Victor's accomplice on the far side. The team bursts into a wider corridor, coughing and battered, but alive. Luis retrieves the pistol, checks for other threats, and gestures for everyone to keep moving. In the chaos, Victor makes one last attempt to break free, shoving Javier and lunging for the nearest exit. But Luis and Sofia intercept him, pinning him down with a strength born of desperation and purpose. "Enough!" Sofia snaps, eyes blazing. "You will not steal anything else from this place." Shaken but determined, the team drags Victor with them, finally emerging from the underground maze into the light of the ruined plaza. The jungle air feels like a baptism, cool and sharp after the stifling tombs. They collapse on the mossy stones, gasping for breath, sunlight dazzling after so much darkness. For a long time, no one speaks. The echoes of betrayal, danger, and near loss reverberate in the silence. Then, slowly, Anna begins to laugh. A short, incredulous sound. "We survived," she says, voice cracking. "We actually survived." Javier sits back, cradling his injured arm. "Barely. I think the Lady of the Sun was watching over us." Luis checks the jungle perimeter, then helps Sofia bind Victor's hands even tighter. "We're not out of danger yet, but we made it. And the story, the city, it's safe for now." Sofia stands, brushing dust from her clothes and looking out over the lost city, its temples shining. She feels the weight of the mask, the memory of the tomb, and the bond of friendship that has carried them through betrayal and She whispers a silent thanks to the guardians of La Corona, vowing never to forget the lessons of their escape. The city behind them is silent, but the sun has never shone so brightly. Sunlight has never felt so sweet. The team emerges, battered and breathless, into the ruined plaza at the heart of La Corona. For a moment, they simply stand in silence, chests heaving, dust swirling around them like spirits rising from the stones. The city that once hid its secrets beneath 1,000 years of jungle now seems to embrace them, golden rays warming their faces as the worst of their ordeal fades behind them. Luis is the first to move, helping Anna sit down beside a toppled stela. Javier leans heavily against a broken column, his injured arm cradled, but his eyes bright with gratitude. Sofia paces the edge of the plaza, every sense alive, as if expecting the jungle itself to step forward and acknowledge their return. And then, as if on cue, a familiar figure slips from the shade of the saber trees. Ixchel, the Maya guardian who first warned and then aided them, approaches with quiet dignity. Behind her, several other guardians emerge, some young, some old, faces painted in traditional blue and red, their eyes reflecting both relief and pride. Sofia greets Ixchel, bowing her head in respect. Ixchel regards the team with a measured gaze, then steps forward, offering Sofia a beautifully woven cloth embroidered with the glyph for the sun. "You have honored La Corona," she says, her Spanish rich with the melody of Maya speech. "You faced the city's tests, respected its dead, and carried its story with care. The ancestors have watched, and they are pleased." Sofia accepts the cloth with trembling hands, tears springing to her eyes. "Thank you. We did our best to listen, to remember. La Corona's story is safe with us." Ixchel turns to the others. She kneels beside Anna, gently touching her hair, and offers a small carved obsidian sun to Javier. To Luis, she presents a bundle of fresh tortillas and fruit, smiling at his surprise and relief. To Sofia, she presses a ceremonial staff into her hands, a symbol of trust, leadership, and a promise to continue the Guardians' work. The Guardians lead the team in a simple ritual at the center of the plaza, burning copal incense and scattering petals in a circle. Ixchel chants in Maya, calling on the spirits of the city and the Lady of the Sun. The team stands together, heads bowed, smoke curling into the sky and sunlight catching on the last fragments of the mask and calendar stone. For a moment, Sophia feels completely at peace, her fear and sorrow dissolving into the warmth of shared gratitude. She glances at her friends, Ana, moved to tears by the ceremony, Javier, humbled and beaming, his burdens lighter, Luis, stoic and proud, watching over them all. Ixchel rises and addresses Sophia directly. You are now part of this story. You are welcome here as a guardian, not just a seeker. What you do with this knowledge will matter to the living and the dead. Sophia bows her head, voice full of emotion. I promise we will honor the ancestors and the people who live here still. We will tell La Corona's story truly and protect it as you have. The team lingers in the plaza, sharing food, laughter, and quiet moments of awe. The Guardians tell stories of their own families, of drought and survival, of traditions kept alive in secret, of hope and loss. Anna listens with the eagerness of a lifelong learner, translating and recording every word. Javier, always the dreamer, asks if the Lady of the Sun's descendants still walk the earth. Ixchel smiles gently and replies, her blood flows in many veins. Every child of this land carries a spark of her courage. As the afternoon sun dips low, painting the ruins with long shadows, Ixchel stands and motions for the Guardians to gather. It is time for you to go, she says kindly. La Corona has given you what it can. The rest is for you to carry forward. The team gathers their packs, each a little heavier with gifts and memories, but hearts lightened by the blessing of the Guardians. As they leave the plaza, Sophia looks back one last time, watching the smoke from the copal incense drift upward, carrying prayers and promises to the sky. At the edge of the city, Sophia pauses. She lifts the ceremonial staff, bowing it toward the ruins, and whispers, "We will remember. We are your witnesses now." The jungle stirs around them, as if in approval, and La Corona, heart of stone and sun, remains, its spirit alive in every story, every survivor, every new day. The golden light of late afternoon bathes La Corona's ruins as Sophia and her team shoulder their packs for the long journey home. The echoes of ritual chants and copal incense still linger, mingling with the calls of distant tuckins and the steady hum of jungle life. With every step away from the ancient city, Sophia feels the weight of both loss and fulfillment, a rare blend of sorrow at leaving and joy at what they now carry within them. Ixchel and the Maya Guardians escort them through the first stretch of forest, Thinting, forest, the group walking in silent procession past sacred trees and crumbling stelae. Each member of the expedition holds their parting gifts close. Anna's notebook bursting with translations, Javier's obsidian sun clutched tightly in his good hand, Luis's arms full of tortillas and fruit, Sophia's ceremonial staff feeling light and momentous all at once. When the city's edge is reached, Ixchel stops. She clasps Sophia's hands, looking her in the eyes. This path belongs to you now. Go in peace. Tell our story with truth. The rest of the Guardians bow in turn, then melt back into the green, leaving the four explorers standing alone at the jungle's threshold. The way back is a blur of color and hardship. Vivid birds flitting overhead, biting insects at their heels, mud and sweat, and tangled vines. Yet the burdens feel lighter. Anna hums a melody from the village, jotting final notes and sketching the Guardians' faces from memory. Javier, his arm healing, cracks jokes and points out hidden orchids in the branches above. Even Luis, usually so stoic, shares tales of his own childhood, stories of rivers, spirits, and rainstorms, reminding them all of how deeply human this journey has been. Sophia leads with a sense of calm authority she didn't possess before. She stops often to check the staff, the map, and the gifts, making certain nothing is lost. She feels the presence of the Lady of the Sun, Ixchel, her grandfather, and all those whose stories are now woven with her own. In moments of exhaustion, she rests her hand on the sun-embroidered cloth and finds strength there. Days pass. The jungle slowly thins, the air grows brighter, and the birdsong changes. They cross the river where, weeks ago, Sophia first touched Maya bones. His. This time, they pause, scattering flower petals in memory of those lost and in gratitude for their own survival. At last, a distant clearing reveals the outline of the village, the sound of children laughing, the sight of cooking fires, and the scent of fresh bread bring tears to their eyes. Villagers rush to greet them, crowding around with questions and wide-eyed awe. Don Miguel, the elder who gave Sophia the jade bead, presses her hands and asks, "Did you find it?" Sophia smiles, placing the staff in his hands. "We found everything, and more." That night, the team is celebrated with music and stories around the fire. They are given places of honor, and Sophia shares the first details of La Corona's story. Its kings and queens, its suffering and wisdom, its guardians and its hope. Anna translates for the children, who sit in a wide-eyed ring, while Javier passes around his obsidian son. Luis tells the villagers about Ixchel and the blessings of the guardians, his words carrying respect and wonder. As the stars rise, Sophia sits quietly apart, reflecting on the circle of their journey. She feels profoundly changed, not only by what she has seen, but by what she now knows: the power of stories, the responsibility of memory, and the unbreakable thread that ties the living to the ancestors. Before bed, she writes a final entry in her field journal. Torrendians, we leave La Corona behind, but the city is not lost. Its heart beats in every word we remember, every story we share, and every promise we keep. The ancestors entrusted us with their secrets, and we are bound to honor them. Tomorrow, the work of telling begins. As the fire dies down, the village slips into sleep. Sophia watches the sky and whispers a silent thanks. For the first time in her life, she feels wholly at home, at the edge of the jungle, embraced by memory, and ready for the new chapter ahead. The transition from jungle to civilization is as jarring as the call of a toucan. In pre-dawn silence, weeks after leaving La Corona, Sophia and her team arrive in the capital city, a place of honking traffic, gleaming buildings, and electric light, so unlike the timeless hush of the forest. Their clothes are clean, but their boots are still scuffed, and their skin holds the memory of sun and rain. The university campus is abuzz with rumors, news of their return, and the whispers of a lost Maya city discovered in the Petén have reached faculty, students, and the press. Sophia is invited to present her team's findings to a panel of distinguished scholars, archaeologists, anthropologists, and Maya experts from around the world. The night before, Sophia sits alone in her borrowed apartment, surrounded by boxes of notes, sketches, and memory cards brimming with photos. The ceremonial staff leans against her chair, the embroidered cloth folded nearby. She pores over Anna's translations and Javier's sketches, rehearsing every argument. In her chest, excitement wars with anxiety. Will they believe her? Will they respect the story she is trying to tell? The day of the presentation dawns bright and tense. The auditorium is packed, Professors in pressed suits, graduate students, and even a few reporters. Anna sits in the front row, notebook open, ready to support Sofia with references and clarifications. Javier, out of his sling now, helps set up displays, large prints of murals and glyphs, a replica of the Jade Mask, and photos of the Chamber of Kings. Luis stands by the door, a calm presence, keeping an eye on the crowd. Sofia steps to the podium, hands shaking only slightly. She takes a breath and begins, weaving the story of La Corona, not as a mere collection of artifacts, but as a living place, shaped by its people and preserved by its guardians. She speaks of the Lady of the Sun, the collapse and renewal, the coded warnings in the glyphs, and the sacred trust placed in them by Ixchel and the modern Maya community. At first, the panel listens with polite skepticism. Dr. Alvarez, a senior Maya scholar, interrupts. Your claims are extraordinary. Do you have primary evidence? Artifacts, radiocarbon dates, glyph sequences that can be independently verified? Sofia is ready. She presents photographs and sketches. Anna provides translations, and Javier hands around Sandy scans of pottery and mural fragments. When questions turn aggressive, how do we know you didn't stage these finds? Lewis speaks quietly but firmly about the Guardian's rituals and the team's vow to protect the site from exploitation. A heated debate erupts. Some scholars press for GPS coordinates and site access. Others argue for discretion and respect. Anna reads a letter of support from Ixchel and the village elders, VP, explaining the importance of stewardship and partnership with the living descendants. The auditorium buzzes. Some critics shake their heads, others lean in, hungry for answers. As tension builds, Sofia stands her ground. La Corona is not just a discovery, it is a responsibility. We have shared our findings and opened the door for collaborative research for free, but we must also honor the wishes of those who have guarded this city for centuries. A hush falls. Slowly, the mood shifts. A few professors nod, acknowledging the unique approach. The university president thanks Sofia for her courage and transparency. A renowned Maya linguist stands and announces, "These are the most complete glyph sequences we've seen in decades." I believe her. Javier lets out a quiet sigh of relief. Anna beams, scribbling final notes for a coming report. Luis smiles at Sofia, pride flickering in his eyes. The reporters rush forward, questions flying, but Sofia simply holds up the ceremonial staff and says, "This story belongs to all of us, past, present, and future. We are only its witnesses." That night, as the team gathers in a small restaurant near campus, they celebrate quietly, remembering the jungle, the city, and the Anna toasts to the Lady of the Sun. Javier jokes about surviving not just the jungle but the academic storm, and Luis raises his glass in gratitude for friendship and trust. Sofia, heart full, steps outside beneath the city lights. The future feels uncertain, but she knows now that every storm, every challenge, is another step in the journey of remembering. La Corona's story, once hidden beneath stone and soil, is now alive in the world. And she is ready for whatever comes next. The days and weeks after Sofia's university presentation pass in a blur of activity, letters, and long, thoughtful nights. The academic world has woken to the news of La Corona's rediscovery, and with it comes an avalanche of correspondence, mails from fellow archaeologists, requests for interviews, invitations to international conferences, and questions from curious students around the world. Sofia's small apartment becomes a hub of history and hope. Maps and artifact sketches paper the walls, reference books cover the table, and Anna's translations fill folders stacked beside the window. Sunlight streams in each morning, illuminating the ceremonial staff and the sun-embroidered cloth folded neatly. on a bookshelf, a constant reminder of the trust placed in them. Sophia sits at her laptop, fingers flying across the keys. Her article drafts, like the city they describe, are built layer by layer: the story of the Lady of the Sun, the glyphs and murals, the river of bones, the guardians, the collapse, and the renewal. She consults Anna by phone daily, clarifying details and checking translations, while Javier emails his sketches and digital models for inclusion in presentations and publications. Luis, though less comfortable with city life, visits often to share his memories and offer quiet encouragement. A week after the presentation, Sophia's first article goes live in a respected journal. It is not just a list of discoveries, but a tapestry of narrative, history, myth, and living memory. She writes, "La Corona is not just a ruin. It is a testament to resilience, to human ingenuity and courage, to the power of story. The Lady of the Sun's dynasty endures in every glyph, every ritual, every person who remembers." The response is electric. Letters pour in. Students inspired by the Lady of the Sun. Elders from Guatemala expressing pride and gratitude. Colleagues from distant countries eager to learn more and collaborate. The university invites her to deliver a keynote. At a major symposium, the village school in Petén requests a copy of her report for their children. Sue? No? Anna works on a popular science article, making the story accessible to a wider audience. Her writing is full of color and excitement. She describes descending into the tomb, feeling the city's heart beat beneath her feet, and being welcomed by the guardians. Her words spark the imagination of children and adults alike, who flood her inbox with drawings, questions, and dreams of becoming explorers themselves. Javier assembles an exhibition with the University Museum. Life-sized prints of murals, Sand-D models of the mask and throne, replicas of the obsidian sun, and a soundscape of jungle calls and village music. He spends long hours with local artists, ensuring the displays honor the living descendants and respect the Maya guardians' wishes. Luis, meanwhile, returns briefly to the village, carrying Sophia's letters and Anna's articles as gifts. He shares the news with Ixchel and the elders, reading the words aloud by firelight. The villagers smile, proud that their ancestors' stories have found their way into the world, not as relics, but as living legacies. Despite the whirlwind of attention, Sophia is mindful of her promise to protect La Corona, to share its story without exploiting it. She writes to national authorities, proposing a stewardship plan that involves the village, the guardians, and the university. She insists that all further research must be collaborative, that the site remains sacred, and that any benefits, financial or educational, must flow back to the Maya community. One night, after a flurry of interviews and video calls, Sophia stands by her window, watching city lights twinkle in the darkness. She holds the sun-embroidered cloth, feeling the fabric's weight and the strength of the promise it represents. She smiles, knowing that La Corona's secrets are no longer hidden, and that every story, once shared, becomes part of something larger and brighter. She types a final email to Ixchel. The world is listening. Your story, our story, will never be forgotten. Thank you for trusting me, for guiding me. We are all guardians now. As the message sends, Sophia closes her laptop and steps outside. The city's bustle all around her. She breathes in the cool night air and whispers a blessing for the Lady of the Sun, for the guardians, for her friends, and for every seeker of lost stories. La Corona's secrets, once hidden by jungle and time, now live in the hearts and minds of people across the world. Proof that sharing a story can change the future just as it honors the past, La Corona's rediscovery sends ripples far beyond Guatemala, echoing through academic halls, bustling cities, rural classrooms, and quiet homes. The city that slept beneath jungle roots for centuries now inspires conversations, dreams, and debates across continents. Sofia feels the weight and wonder of this global attention. News outlets run headlines: Lost Maya City Unveiled, Guardians and Glyphs, a Legacy Preserved. Social media buzzes with speculation, gratitude, and, inevitably, controversy. Each day brings new requests for interviews, speaking engagements, and collaborative projects. Anna becomes a sought-after voice for Maya history, appearing on educational podcasts and children's programs, sharing stories of the Lady of the Sun in Spanish and English. She helps teachers design lesson plans, making Maya script and civilization accessible to children in both Guatemala and abroad. A classroom in rural France sends a package of thank you notes and bright crayon drawings. Pyramids, masks, and the Lady of the Sun smiling in every picture. Javier's exhibition opens to packed crowds, visitors wandering through reconstructed murals and digital walkthroughs of the city's ruins. He gives tours, sharing personal anecdotes. Here's where we almost gave up, and here's where we realized the city was alive. He meets descendants of Maya migrants who weep quietly in front of the Lady of the Sun's mural, grateful to see their heritage honored. Luis, now comfortable with the rhythm of village and city life, accompanies Sofia to national heritage meetings. He stands beside her as she negotiates with government ministers, explaining the guardian's wishes and the need for local stewardship. His steady presence and sincerity disarm even the most jaded officials. But not all responses are positive. Some foreign academics press for immediate open access to the site, frustrated by Sofia's insistence on slow, collaborative work. A few commercial interests attempt to pressure the government for permits to film documentaries or organize luxury tours. Sofia and the Guardians hold firm. La Corona is not a trophy or a tourist trap. Its story will not be sold. In Petén, the village becomes a quiet center of change. With Sofia's support and a small grant from the university, the school launches a Maya heritage program, bringing elders and guardians to teach language, stories, and rituals to the children. Ixchel is asked to bless the new library, which now houses copies of Sofia's articles, Anna's books, and a growing archive of local oral histories. One afternoon, Sofia receives a letter from a girl in the highlands of Chiapas. Cheer were, "Thank you for showing that our stories matter. One day I want to be a guardian too." Sofia's heart aches with gratitude. She reads the letter aloud to her friends over dinner, and they toast to all the future guardians, storytellers, and seekers inspired by La Corona. Late at night, Sofia walks the city's quiet streets, ceremonial staff in hand, reflecting on the journey. She passes a mural freshly painted on a school wall. The Lady of the Sun standing above a city, surrounded by children holding hands. Beneath the image, a single phrase in Maya and Spanish: "The heart of La Corona beats in all of us." The work is never finished. Sofia reviews proposals for a new collaborative research center, advises journalists on ethical reporting, and consults with Ixchel via video call. Sometimes she feels overwhelmed, but she remembers the hush of the jungle, the voices of the guardians, and her promise to the ancestors. She grounds herself in those memories, drawing strength for each new challenge. Sofia, Anna, Javier, and Luis gather one evening in the city's botanical garden beneath a grove of ceiba trees planted to honor their expedition. Yuru. They sit on the grass, sharing stories, listening to the night birds, and talking quietly about the next generation. They speak not just of discoveries and data, but of hope, of what it means to care for a story together. As stars rise over the city, Sofia knows that the ripples of La Corona will travel farther still, carried by every person who listens, every child who dreams, and every guardian yet to come. Months pass, and the world's fascination with La Corona does not wane. Yet, for Sofia and her team, the greatest honor is not the international acclaim, but the chance to return to the people who made their journey possible. Guided by their promise, they organize a homecoming, returning not just to the village, but to the guardians, elders, and descendants whose memories and stories brought the city to light. It is Anna who suggests the idea. Let's hold the first full telling here, with everyone who belongs to La Corona's legacy. Not just scholars, but the children, the storytellers, and the keepers of the land. The team agrees, and plans for a community celebration begin. When they arrive, the village is alive with anticipation. Ixchel greets them at the path, her dress resplendent with new embroidery, sun and jaguar motifs shining in gold and blue. Villagers carry bundles of flowers, musicians tune marimbas, and children gather with painted faces, with committed faith, eager for the stories they've only heard in fragments. But the ceremony begins at dusk in the open plaza. Mats are laid in a great circle, and the air is fragrant with copal incense. Sofia stands with Ana, Javier, and Luis before the assembled crowd, joined by Ixchel and the guardians. The ceremonial staff is placed at the center, flanked by the sun-embroidered cloth and a new mural, a tapestry created by the children depicting La Corona, the Lady of the Sun, and scenes of resilience and hope. Sofia opens the gathering in Spanish and Maya, her voice steady and clear. We are not here to claim what is yours, but to share what we learned. Your history, your strength, your spirit. The world is listening, but tonight this story returns to its heart. Anna, now fluent in the village dialect, narrates the discovery of the glyphs, the river of bones, the city's collapse and rebirth. Her words weave in and out of elders' reminiscences, blending archaeological detail with the living memory of the people. Javier shows sketches and models, passing artifacts gently from hand to hand, letting the children touch the stories once hidden in stone. Luis speaks last, recalling the guardian's courage and the lessons learned on the journey. He invites Ixchel to bless the gathering. She moves to the center of the circle, raising the staff and leading everyone in a song to the ancestors, her voice strong and melodic, echoing through the clearing as night settles over the jungle. Then the elders speak, sharing tales handed down through generations, correcting and deepening the story, reminding everyone that the true legacy of La Corona is not just in monuments, but in the people who have carried its spirit through drought, war, and silence. As the fire burns low, Sofia feels a sense of wholeness she has never known before. She watches children draw the Lady of the Sun in the dust. Young men and women recite new poems inspired by the expedition, and elders debate points of history with laughter and pride. The academic storm is far away. Here, only the continuity of culture, memory, and hope matters. When the moon rises, Ixchel takes Sofia's hands. You kept your promise. The ancestors smile on you. This story is home again. The team remains for days, participating in workshops, helping to build a new classroom, planting ceiba saplings in honor of the city. They consult with teachers about curriculum, collaborate with artists, and listen as the story of La Corona takes root in new voices and new dreams. As their visit ends, Sofia leaves the ceremonial staff and sun-embroidered cloth in the care of Ixchel and the school, trusting the next generation to be both guardians and storytellers. When she says goodbye, it is not with tears, but with deep gratitude and the knowledge that her journey has come full circle. The plane takes off at dawn, mist curling over the treetops. Sophia looks down at the emerald sea of jungle, heart full. She knows now that returning the story was the greatest discovery of all.
Night comes thoughtful. Shadows stretching long across the earth as lanterns and cooking fires blink on one by one. Sophia and her friends sit together outside, beneath the open sky. The festivities of the day are over, but a gentle energy lingers. Slaughter from the square. The rhythmic hush of marimba, the low hum of stories being shared by elders around other fires. Above them, the sky is an ocean of stars, vast and bright as it must have been when the Lady of the Sun ruled La Corona. Anna, curled on a blanket, traces constellations with her finger, retelling the story of the maize god and the hero twins for a circle of wide-eyed children. Javier lies back, head pillowed on his arms, describing how Maya astronomers built their cities and calendars by watching these very stars. Louis, more comfortable in the jungle than under city lights, quietly recounts his favorite memory of the expedition. The hush of the tomb, the moment the mask was placed, the feeling that the ancestors themselves were listening. Sophia gazes upward, overwhelmed by the sense of connection between earth and sky, past and present. She finds the bright shape of Venus, the jaguar star. Anna whispers and imagines it as the Lady of the Sun might have seen it, a sign of power, change, and hope. The night is alive with the possibility that all journeys are part of a larger story. In the darkness, Ixchel joins them, wrapped in a shawl embroidered with sun and serpent. She sits beside Sophia and, in a low voice, begins to recite the Song of the City, a poem passed down for. The words weave together the building of La Corona, its struggles and glories, the sorrow of its fall, and the hope of renewal in every child and every dawn. Anna translates softly for the children Trient, long ago when the sun was new. You know, we shaped the city from stone and dream. Memories matched the stars. We watched the stars. We called the rain. We learned the power of memories gleam. When darkness came, we did not fade, but left our story in earth and sky. So all who listen and all who care yet may keep La Corona's spirit alive. As the poem ends, a hush settles. The children lean against their mothers, the guardians look to the horizon, and Sophia feels the pulse of history and belonging in her chest. For a moment, the boundaries between people, time, and place dissolve. Every heart beats together. One story, one memory, under a sky that has seen it all before. Javier quietly hands out little folded stars made of maize husk. One for each child, each friend, each guardian. So you'll always remember to look up, he says, and laughter bubbles through the group. Ixchel blesses the stars, lifting hers toward Venus. Every story is a star. Carry it well. Murmur their approval, and Anna promises to write the Song of the City, in both Maya and Spanish for the school's new mural. As the night deepens, the team knows the adventure has changed them forever. They have become, in their own way, both seekers and keepers, bridges between worlds. Sophia stays long after the others drift to sleep, listening to the distant jungle and the song of crickets. She writes a final note in her journal. There tonight, the stars echo with voices of the past. I am part of that echo now, so are we all. She looks up, smiles at the stars, and finally closes her eyes, knowing that in the vastness above, the heart of La Corona shines on. Morning dawns soft and golden over the village, dew sparkling on the leaves, the jungle alive with birdsong and promise. It is the last day for Sophia and her team before their return to the wider world. But there is no sadness in the air, only gratitude and anticipation. The story of La Corona has been returned, received, and now, like the rising sun, it shines forward into the future. Sophia wakes before the others, slipping out to the plaza as the first rays of light illuminate the mural painted by the children, bright colors showing the Lady of the Sun, the ancient city and guardians old and new. She traces the mural with gentle fingers, whispering a thank you to the ancestors, to Ixchel, to every voice that made this journey possible. One by one, her friends join her. Anna brings cups of steaming atoll, smiling with contentment. Javier carries a final package of maize husk stars for the school. And Luis, ever steady, simply places a hand on Sophia's shoulder, a gesture of pride and understanding. The village gathers for a farewell breakfast beneath the ceiba trees, laughter rising with the sun. Ixchel offers a final blessing, sprinkling flower petals and speaking words in Maya. A story told well never dies. Carry this one with honor and return whenever your heart needs strength. As the meal ends, children run to Sophia and Anna with new drawings. This time, the explorers themselves appear in the scenes, standing alongside the Lady of the Sun and the village guardians. The past and present are now joined in crayon and memory. Javier leaves his notebook in the school library, a gift for future artists and dreamers. Anna donates a set of translations and stories to the teacher, who promises to read them aloud each year on the Festival of the Sun. Luis plants one last ceiba sapling at the plaza's edge, dedicating it to all those who seek and protect wisdom. Sofia makes her way to Ixchel, embracing her in the center of the plaza. We will always be your friends, she promises. La Corona is part of us now, Ixchel smiles, her eyes shining. And you are part of La Corona. Wherever you go, you carry the light. The journey home is peaceful. As the jungle fades behind them, the team travels with easy hearts, knowing their adventure was never just about discovery, but about trust, humility, and the bonds between people and stories. Back in the city, Sophia takes up her work with renewed passion. She helps launch an international conference on collaborative research, ensuring local voices lead the discussions. Anna writes books for children and teachers, weaving Maya science, legend, and survival into every page. Javier's murals appear in museums and village plazas alike, reminders that art, like memory, transcends borders. Luis travels often between city and village, helping organize exchanges so that young guardians and future archaeologists may learn together. Years pass, and the legacy of La Corona grows. Students from around the world visit the village, learning from elders and guardians. Festivals of the Sun draw travelers and locals together in music and memory. And always the story of the Lady of the Sun, her courage, sacrifice, and hope, reminds all who listen that true treasure is not gold, but the stories we keep alive. One night, long after the expedition, Sophia stands in her city apartment, the ceremonial staff by her window. She looks up at Venus shining in the sky, the same star that guided kings, queens, and seekers for centuries. She smiles, closes her eyes, and hears the echoes of La Corona Predandal carry the story. Be the light. And so, the legacy lives, not just in ruins, artifacts, or books, but in every heart that dares to listen, remember, and dream.